Dragon Ball Lao Su is the god of destruction. Chapter 61-80. Chapter 61. The demon world attacks the human world. Starting today, I will take over the demon world of the seventh universe. There was a cold aura in the eyes of the god of destruction today. Immediately, all the demon kings and gods widened their eyes. God of destruction, are you serious? The cold sweat slowly flowed from the forehead of the demon king god. One of the reasons why he became a demon is because of his powerful strength, and the second is that he is not willing to lose his supremacy after stepping down as the great realm god, and he has to return to the core star to contribute to the cultivation of the next generation of the realm god. If the god of destruction is serious, the one who loses the most rights and interests in the scene is him, the ruler of the demon king god realm. What? Do you have an opinion? The god of destruction looked at the wine glass in his hand with a wicked smile, and tapped his fingertips lightly. In an instant, the entire wine glass turned into dust and scattered on the ground. This scene made the demon world king Shen, who was standing on the side, frown slightly, because he didn't feel any breath. But he didn't care too much. After all, he could do it this way. However, the next move of the god of destruction made all the surrounding demon kings turn pale. I saw the right hand of the god of destruction spread out, and the dust on the ground flew back to the god of destruction as if it was upside down, and slowly formed the wine glass that was just broken. Hey! All the demon kings took a deep breath. Space-time energy, this is actually the unique time-space energy of angels. They all know that the most noble existence in this universe is Whis, and the reason why Whis is noble is that he comprehends the energy of time and space. The god of destruction is joking. You want to take over our demon king god realm, and we are too happy. How can there be any opinions? Yes, the god of destruction is so powerful that you are covering us. We are extremely honored. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. A compliment came from the mouths of the demon realm kings, of course, and the demon realm king next to the god of destruction had turned into a pig liver color. Why, are you a little unconvinced? Mr. Daji Wangshan before the 14th generation. The god of destruction squinted his golden eyes, and said lightly to the demon king god, whose body was trembling slightly beside him. The demon world king god trembled slightly, but calmed down. Don't dare, what the god of destruction says is what he says, but I just don't know. The god of destruction does this, does Master Weiss know? The indifferent words of the demon king god caused the expression of the demon king god below to change slightly. They all know that although Whis supports the god of destruction on the bright side, he mainly monitors the god of destruction. If the god of destruction does things behind the priest's back, the priest has the right to punish the god of destruction. The demon king god looked at the god of destruction silently, thinking that the other party was afraid, and couldn't help sneering. It seems that I have to go. Shin killed this kid, so the god of destruction will disappear. If you want to grab my dominance in the demon world, it's just killing yourself. The god of destruction on the side suddenly lifted his eyelids, and his pale golden pupils suddenly made the heart of the king of demons fall to the bottom of the valley. Your words are too much. The icy words of the god of destruction will cause the souls of the demon king god to escape. No, run away. The demon king god teleported and appeared tens of billions of light years away. Feeling unsafe, he hurriedly opened the channel of the demon realm and wanted to leave the demon realm. Unfortunately, a flower suddenly flashed before his eyes. He has come back to his senses again, and he has returned to the temple of the demon king. Aren't you too naive to try to run away from me? The voice of the god of destruction came from behind him, making the king of the great realm icy cold. Crack! Suddenly, he felt a hand on his shoulder. The demon king god just felt a little pain, and instantly lost consciousness. And the demon realm king god below looked at the demon realm king god, who instantly turned into flying ashes, and his face was all pale with fright. After doing all this, the god of destruction slowly walked back to the central throne with his hands behind his back. You don't have to worry. I'm a good talker. If you are obedient and do things well, I won't touch you. The god of destruction said casually with Erlang's legs crossed. Of course, where do the following Kaiwang gods believe in the ghosts of the god of destruction? You killed the supreme ruler of the devil world just after we met. You told me that you were easy to talk to. Go to hell. But they didn't dare to say anything. Since that's the case, I'll talk about the purpose of my visit this time. After today, all of you will bring the demons to the human world for me, and then arrange the demons for me on every living planet. Your purpose is to force the human race to grow up quickly. Of course, it is up to you to deal with those who are not motivated and cannot support the wall with mud. The word of the god of destruction is that these Kato gods who have fallen into darkness are all terrified and chilled. Is god of destruction going to destroy the human world? The demons are extremely powerful. If it wasn't for the god of destruction, the king of gods would have occupied the human world. Wouldn't the lord of god of destruction be afraid that Lord Wesses would cause him trouble? Although the realm gods here have fallen into darkness, they are still very concerned about the human world. Otherwise, if they all joined the demon camp, the realm gods would have been destroyed long ago, and the corresponding gods of destruction would not be able to escape death. But they just watched the war of a demon in the human world with a cold eye, always standing on a neutral point of view. Of course, god of destruction doesn't care what these people are thinking. You don't have to worry about anything. This decision is also supported by the Kid Weiss, but he is not in the mood to pay attention to these trivial matters. From today onwards, you will start. I hope that in 2 years, you will be able to see the shadows of the demons around the universe, otherwise you will know the consequences. After speaking, the god of destruction exuded a purple arrogance, and instantly suppressed the trembling demon king god to the ground. Okay, work starts, take my word for it. Suddenly, all the demon kings and gods felt that the pressure on their bodies completely disappeared. When they looked up, all they saw was the empty throne. The god of destruction has long since disappeared. What shall we do? A bewildered voice came. What else can you do? Unless you want to die, then start doing what the god of destruction says. Yes, it looks like this universe is about to change. After the demon realm king god discussed it, he had no choice but to decide to join forces to attack the human realm. And the demons of the demon world, as the vanguard, were sent by the demon king and god to the various planets in the human world using teleportation. Of course, during this period, he was strongly blocked by the king of demons. However, under the terrifying power of the demon king god, Dapra, the king of the demon realm, was no longer able to survive after being infiltrated into the core of the demon star. And his vassals came to rescue him after the demon king god conquered the human world, but no trace of Dapra could be found. Chapter 62, destroyed from the beginning of the entire universe. God of destruction, did you really decide to do this? In the endless starry sky, Wissen the god of destruction stood in the starry sky and looked at a planet below that had been slaughtered by the demons to the point of sparse hatred, and said solemnly to the god of destruction. HMPH, I have my plan, so you don't have to worry about it. What? You think I'm being too cruel? The god of destruction glanced at Whis, who looked a little unsightly. It's a little bit, but I still remember that when the god of destruction first destroyed the planet, he didn't do anything, and now it has changed so much. There was no longer the previous smile on Wes's face, but this time the god of destruction had gone too far, even he couldn't stand it any longer. The god of destruction is too abominable. He actually destroyed so many planets. It's hard to buy cosmetics in the future. Of course, the god of destruction couldn't figure it out, and the god of destruction thought that Whis, the dog, had discovered it better than his conscience. People will always change. If you have an opinion, put it up. Don't keep it in your heart. I don't have the heart to play charades with you. The god of destruction smiled disdainfully, but there was still a hint of contradiction in the depths of his hole. Ho ho ho, the god of destruction is joking. I unconditionally agree with the decision you made. In this case, can the god of destruction also count those planets that did not meet the standard this year? Weiss swept away the silence before, and a bright smile appeared on his face again. Weiss's sudden change of face caused the god of destruction to twitch slightly. Well, the Rome King has already informed everything. Help me analyze how the overall level has improved this year. It has been a year since the last time the god of destruction and the god of Jabbat issued an order. Over the past year, Kai Wang kept broadcasting orders from the god of destruction within the range he belonged to, but the effect was actually not very good. It can be said that among the planets in the entire universe, no more than 100 million planets have begun to practice cultivation. HMPH, I also know that they will perfunctory things. I can't think that so many planets will ignore my words as a deaf ear. In this case, it's too early to take advantage of the time to give all the planets a little punishment this time. The god of destruction also expected this to happen, so he had already prepared a solution. Ho ho ho, the charisma of the god of destruction doesn't seem to be enough. If you look at the people in the human world, it seems that no one cares about the king's notice. I don't know what you should do. Weiss said gloatingly again. Destroy a quarter of each planet first, or you won't be able to play if it's all destroyed. The god of destruction smiled slightly, emitting purple-black destructive energy all over his body. Boom. After an earth-shattering loud noise, a purple ball of light started from the place where the god of destruction stood, and instantly spread into the starry sky with a diameter of millions of kilometers. Bang! Suddenly, the entire ball of light burst open, and countless purple light beams spread toward the universe like rain. The speed of the purple point of light is completely billions of times faster than the speed of light, covering all living planets in just one day. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Grandpa, look at my 8th level collapse fist. On a sea blue planet, there is this small island in a piece of Wangyang. A young child on the island was excitedly calling out to his grandfather not far away. Ha ha ha, yes, as expected of the grandson of my great Heaven Do Emperor. He has mastered the 4th trick of Do technique so quickly. Grandpa taught you the 108 fighting skills. You should study hard, but it contains the essence of my Sky Star's fighting skills for countless years. The celestial star old man with his hands behind his back said inscrutable. Wow, Grandpa, can you show me the 5th skill? The child excitedly asked his grandfather. Ha ha ha, okay. Grandpa will show you what is the stunt of the great Heaven Do, the supreme fighting skill. With that said, the old man undid the bandage wrapped around his hand, revealing a blood-red arm. The old man's eyes were like torches, and a powerful aura erupted from his body. The 5th technique of the supreme fighting technique, the flame splitting the wave palm. After a lightning flashed across the sky and the earth, the blue sea ahead was instantly split with a deep invisible trace. You see, this is one of the 108 fighting skills that my Sky Star has regarded as a treasure for countless years. The old man looked up at the sky, revealing an extremely desolate feeling. Just as the child couldn't help clapping his hands, a purple light suddenly flashed across the sky in the distance. The light instantly shook the eyes of the 2 grandfathers and grandsons, unable to open them. Ah! Suddenly, a scream came from the old man's mouth in the purple light. After the purple light dissipated, the scene in front of him was so frightening that the child sat on the ground. What's going on? The child couldn't believe it when he saw that the endless ocean in front of him actually started from his feet and turned into an abyss with no bottom at all. What is terrifying is that although they are only separated by a line, the side of the abyss remains unchanged. Even the water in the sea seems to be blocked by an invisible energy on this side of the abyss. This day is an unforgettable day for the stars in the sky. Because on this day, A quarter of the stars in the sky disappeared into the starry sky, and the only Dodi had one arm amputated and lost his former grace. And the same thing happens everywhere in the universe. Countless people disappeared without a trace in this purple light rain, and at the same time, countless people lost their homes. Of course, because of the power of destructive energy, none of these planets have changed much, just a quarter of their size has disappeared. It is still operating in a way that does not conform to the laws of nature. Of course, only a few of these planets did not suffer any losses. For example, the Earth, under the rapid promotion of the gods, and the wave of martial arts set off by Florence and the Turtle Immortals, who are the disciples and sisters of Weiss, almost half of the people on Earth can become stronger after training. The idea of the remaining people also has a kind of doubt. The world's #1 martial arts tournament has truly become the biggest competitive show that the whole world pays great attention to. Although the per capita level is not much, it still meets the requirements of the god of destruction. Another planet is the god of destruction that is more familiar. That is Frozen Heart. The base camp of the most frozen demon family. After the current frozen demon family just received the god of destruction, Kurd immediately persuaded. He hurriedly called his 3 fathers and sons back to their home planet. Back here, Kurd dragged his severely injured body and started frantic training. Under his persecution, the 2 brothers Cosmic Emperor and Beulah could only begin to cultivate perfunctorily. However, the talent of the Cosmos Emperor is too high, except for the first day of training. After a good increase in strength, he gave up the practice, and Beulah Kurd is a hard practice. But the strength of the 2 did not increase. Ho 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 ho, how can I have such a stupid father? Chapter 63, The Terrible Brawly. A year ago. Above the frozen star, Frieza smiled disdainfully at the corners of their mouths as Beulah and Kurd were still frozen in ice. After a day of training, his strength has doubled. Although it is not too powerful, it has far exceeded the target set by the god of destruction. 2 scumbags, if you don't reach your goals, I will watch you get destroyed by the god of destruction. Frieza spat and then summoned his spaceship to leave the frozen star. Didi, report to King Frieza that the spacecraft has found the breath of the mysterious man who crippled the Kurdish king a few years ago. Suddenly, a rushing sound came from Frieza's planetary headquarters, which made Frieza stunned for a moment. Mysterious man. The strength of someone who can injure Kurd is at least 500 million. If you don't go, ask me to send you to death. Frieza turned off the sound and then started the spacecraft to fly towards Frieza planet. What Frieza didn't know was that the direction he was heading happened to be near the planet where Brawly was. Just as Frieza's spaceship crossed a barren planet in an instant, a green light shot up from the planet and charged straight towards Frieza's spaceship. Huh. Something's wrong. Frieza frowned suddenly, and he felt a trace of unease in his heart. Boom. At this moment, Frieza's spaceship turned into a firework in the universe and exploded. In the fireworks, Frieza flew out from the inside with an ugly expression. At that moment, he felt a deep breath of death. If he hadn't always been in his ultimate form, he would have died with the blow just now. Damn, what the hell is going on? Who dares to attack me? Frieza, can't find death. Frieza furiously searched the starry sky, and then he turned his gaze to the desolate star that had just passed by. The guy who hides his head and shows his tail. Frieza sneered, and then a crimson ball of light condensed from his fingernails. The ball of light is getting bigger and bigger. Ho 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 ho, go die, destroy the ball of light. Frieza laughed wildly and threw the ball of light in his hand towards the planet. The crimson ball of light turned into a ray of light and rushed towards the planet. Just as it was about to hit, another terrifying green light shot up from the planet and instantly destroyed Frieza's light ball with 1/10 of its power. Not only that, but this green light exploded into hundreds of millions of green threads when it destroyed the crimson ball of light, enveloping Frieza in it. It's a big loss to underestimate me, King Frieza. Frieza pointed his index finger forward, and his arms suddenly moved around. Boom boom boom. Countless explosions came from the void, and fireworks all over the sky appeared in the starry sky. Ho ha ho ho, want to snipe me King Frieza with just this little power. I'm laughing to death. In the smoke, Frieza laughed wildly, but what he didn't notice was that a green light and shadow also rushed into the smoke in the starry sky when he laughed wildly. Crack. There was a loud slap in the face. Fuck, who the fuck hit me in the face? Frieza's angry voice came from the smoke. It is a pity that no one recovered his words and responded to his endless attacks afterward. Boom boom boom. Fuck, don't hit the bottom, there is a kind of one-on-one fight. What kind of hero is a hero who hides and hits people? Countless attacks fell on Frieza's body like raindrops, and every blow made him spit out blood. Damn it, the king is a blood cow. Go to hell. Frieza couldn't help it, a white light gushed out from his body. In an instant, the smoke that had spread for hundreds of miles dissipated. Ha! As soon as the smoke dissipated, Frieza heard a roar like a grief-stricken woman, so frightened that he had goosebumps. Frieza hurriedly looked at the source of the voice. I saw a muscular boy of about 2 meters standing near him at this time. A green ball of light tightly wrapped him in it, isolating any rays and sealing the air in it. Boy, who are you? Looking at the muscular man's tall body, Frieza immediately became jealous. The paralyzed one is taller than the king, even more handsome than the king. I can't forgive him. At this time, Frieza had already given Broly the death penalty in his heart. At this time, Broly, who was melancholy, watched Frieza without speaking. He hasn't turned into Xuanchao yet, he hasn't lost consciousness, but he remembered the feeling of being almost killed by Frieza when he was a child, so when Frieza passed by, he shot and destroyed Frieza's body. Spaceship. If you don't speak, then go to die. Frieza roared angrily, and the breath all over his body suddenly skyrocketed several times. The combat power that originally only played 10 million instantly reached 50% of the 120 million, reaching the peak level in the original book when he faced off against Wukong. Death Ray. Frieza's 10 fingers blasted out 10 astonishingly powerful rays, charging towards Broly. It seemed that he felt the terrifying power of Frieza. The green energy on Broly's body kept surging, and his eyes slowly turned white. Roar. A roar erupted from Broly's mouth. The terrifying fluctuations in the sound instantly shattered Frieza's death ray. What? Frieza's face changed drastically. Destroying one's own stunt with sound must be at least 2 or 3 times stronger than himself. Roar. Broly, who was almost unconscious, grinned, appeared beside Frieza in an instant, and pinched Frieza's head. Kill. The ever-increasing strength in his hands made Frieza's face grim, and the fear of death at this moment made Frieza almost crazy. Damn it, go to hell. As Frieza was pinched in the air like a ragdoll, a ball of light erupted from both hands, hitting Broly's chest instantly. Boom. After a violent vibration of the starry sky, Frieza's figure rushed out of the explosion range and flew towards the endless starry sky. Roar. Frieza heard a roar not far from flying out, and then a green light instantly enveloped Frieza in it. Damn it. Frieza roared angrily and was hit by the green qigong and flew upside down into the depths of the starry sky. The rampant Broly, who flew out of the smoke slowly, took a look at the starry sky and slowly flew back to the original barren planet. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. A year later. Kurdish Star. In a laboratory, the Kurdish king looked at Frieza, who had been completely transformed, and smiled. My child, wake up. Chapter 64. I am the Prince of the Saiyans. Wake up my child. With Kurd's call, Frieza in the treatment cabin suddenly opened his eyes. Boom. After an explosion, the medical warehouse burst open, and countless fragments tied all the surrounding medical personnel into a hornet's nest. Hee hee, you are still so irritable. Kurd sneered and shook his head. HMPH, you've been stuck in such a little thing for a year trying. Mecha Frieza snorted coldly at Kurd. Okay, I have something to tell you. While Frieza was still adjusting to his new body, the Kurdish king spoke up. What's the matter? I'm not interested in listening to you. I just want to know where the little bastard who made me like this is. Frieza clenched his fists gloomily. The momentum on his body made the entire Kurdish planet tremble slightly. Hee, that's a coincidence. It just so happened that what I was going to tell you was the information about the person who hurt me and you, but you actually went to him to avenge me, which also surprised me. To be honest, the reason why Kurd spared no effort to save Frieza is because Frieza actually went behind his back to avenge himself. Although he failed, the Kurdish king was still very moved. PFF'd. Frieza nearly choked to death. Paralyzed, why did I want to avenge you? Do you want to be so narcissistic? Frieza, who was selling the batch in his heart, didn't say it, and now he is most concerned about the information of this mysterious man. In Frieza's expectant eyes, Kurd pressed a button beside him. Immediately, a green figure appeared on the display on the side. Crack. Frieza saw that the strength under the figure's feet had involuntarily increased a lot, and the floor instantly cracked countless holes. He is the one who hurt our father and son. You know that, but you may be very concerned about one thing. With that said, Kurd zoomed in on the picture, and after zooming in, the tail behind Broly stood out. Saya wins. This kid is Saya wins. Frieza's eyes widened, looking at the scene in front of him in disbelief. Yeah, he's a Saiyan and he was born the day before you destroyed the prince's planet. His name is Broly, and he is the son of Paragus, a captain of Saiyan monkeys. After the destruction of the prince planet, it stands to reason that they should disappear into the dust of the universe. Kurd didn't finish his words, but it made Frieza's eyes widen. Is he the legendary Super Saiyan? There was a hint of fear in Frieza's icy voice. This fear is not his own fear but the fear carried from the depths of his blood. Yes, although it is a little different from the description of his ancestry, he is indeed a Super Saiyan, but it can be seen from the strength and changes. Kurd's words made Frieza nod in agreement. Where is he now? Frieza asked in a low voice. I don't know this. This is the last picture we see of him. This Super Saiyan seems to have the power to survive in the universe. The Kurdish words instantly made Frieza's face cold. HMPH, if you don't have any coordinates, you're going to hang up. I'm going to retreat. I don't have time to argue with you. When Frieza heard that little information, he turned around and left, leaving behind the stunned Kurdish king. Paralyzed, I kindly found so much information for you. I have been doing PPT for half a year. What the hell is it that you turn around and leave if you don't thank you? Kurd angrily smashed the player in his hand. After what happened to Broly, Frieza finally started to think about cultivation. In a secret room, Frieza practiced for more than 10 days at a time. The strength has directly impacted from the original 200 million to 2 billion combat power. In fact, Frieza's talent is not so terrifying, but Frieza has accumulated enough potential in the freezing for hundreds of years. But these potentials are all hidden in his body and have not been developed. Frieza will develop a part of it every time he practices. And the Golden Frieza in Dragon Ball Super is the product of his full potential release, and it can also be said to be the ultimate form of Frieza. After these 10 days of practice, Frieza finally couldn't bear it any longer. He broke through the training room and got on the spaceship back to his planet Frieza. From this day on, the planet Frieza has only one goal, and that is to find the trail of Broly. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Prince, who do you think Frieza is looking for as this Saiyan? On a barren planet, Nappa, the big bald man, was asking a little Jungtai suspiciously. How many times have you said, call me Prince Prince, are you courting death? Xiao Jungtai gave Nappa a warning with a cold face. Yes, my brain is not good, I just forgot. Nappa's cold sweat broke down, and he quickly apologized to the prince. But the question you mentioned is to be investigated carefully. I think there must be something strange about this matter. Prince Xiaojungtai touched his chin and thought. I've seen this guy. At this moment, the long-haired boy who was burning a huge monster suddenly spoke. HMPH, Raditz, do you have anything to say here? Roast your meat well. When Nappa heard Raditz's words, he thought that it was worth it. If you really knew this important news, wouldn't he fall out of favor? Shut up, Nappa, did you speak? It's a pity that Nappa didn't dare to shout again after the prince's words, so he could only look at Raditz angrily and lowered his head unwillingly. Raditz, tell me, who is this man? The prince asked Raditz with great interest. To be honest, what he has always been curious about is Raditz's hair. In the history of Saiyans, except for women, there has never been a male warrior with such long hair. Of course, there are a lot of people without hair. Under the prince's inquiry, Raditz told the prince and them all about seeing Brawly when he went to the baby cabin to see Kakarot when he was a child. Because the Saiyans are hardly different when they are children and when they grow up, the prince doesn't doubt Raditz's words. Looks like it's time for us to find this fellow Saiyan. The prince was immediately happy when he heard that the other party's identity was actually the son of a senior soldier. I am the Prince of Saiyans, the man my father called the legendary Super Saiyan, and Brawly will definitely be one of my generals in the future. The prince had already imagined the picture of his tiger body shaking, and Brawly rushing over to kneel and lick. From this day on, the prince has not been so active in occupying other planets, but embarked on a journey to find Brawly. On the fourth day of the prince's quest to find Brawly, countless purple rays of light flew from the universe, and at the same time, the words of the god of destruction were ignored, or there were so many people who couldn't support the wall in the universe that the planet instantly destroyed a quarter of the planet. After this day, the entire universe fell into the crazy Great Leap Forward era. Chapter 65, Destroy the Earth. A street on Earth. Two figures suddenly appeared on the street where people came and went. In addition to the nickname, the 21st World's #1 Martial Arts Conference, the world's largest event, will be held tomorrow. At that time, our Valkyrie, Lord Florence, will appear at the venue as a judge. Outside the nickname, the streets of the western capital were filled with brochures about the world's #1 Martial Arts Conference. It is foreseeable that this time the world's #1 Martial Arts Conference will be unprecedented. Ho ho ho, God of Destruction, I've been here for decades, and this is the first time I've seen martial arts so prosperous. It seems that Shaolin is still working hard to improve the strength of the earth. These two figures are the god of destruction and Weiss after the catastrophe was launched. Can he do this alone? I think it's because of the influence of the Abu family. The god of destruction sneered. He didn't believe that Florence could do this in a year's time without relying on Abu. Oops, how can the god of destruction belittle his own people so much? Weiss said helplessly. Maybe, let's go and see how they're doing now. The god of destruction had a smile on his face. Although this earth is not the earth in its own reality, its plate tectonics are all the same, and the only difference is the government and the people who live there. Many cultures are still the same. For example, Chinese civilization also exists in this world, and European civilization also exists. Of course, what makes God of Destruction happiest is that the ingredients in this world are all the same, and looking at these familiar ingredients greatly increases God of Destruction's appetite. Okay, this time we'll eat the earth before we go. Weiss was also happy to take out a small wallet from his scepter, and then drag the God of Destruction into a restaurant. Boss, bring me all the dishes you have here. Weiss shouted as soon as he entered the door, and immediately made the diners inside look sideways. At first, the store owner thought he was here to smash the game, but when Weiss took out a card from his wallet, the owner's face suddenly changed. It's actually the man with the red ribbon. Please wait a moment, sir, and I'll serve the food right away. The boss hurriedly rushed into the kitchen and quickly gave orders to the dozen or so chefs inside. I said Weiss, when did you boy become the man with the red ribbon of Rausch? How could the god of destruction not know who the red ribbon is? But there is a power that can be created by artificial humans who are close to the realm of God. As this, didn't Shaolun tell the god of destruction? The Red Ribbon Army was established when I was idle and bored. By the way, there is a guy named Gallo who is very good. I gave him some the artificial human technology of the universe. I don't know how far he has researched. Quote. While waiting for his big meal, Whis smiled and said what he did with the god of destruction on his back. And the god of destruction, who heard his words, suddenly turned black. I just said that Gallo, an ordinary earthling, is no matter how developed his brain is, how could he have created a powerhouse like number 17 and number 18? It turns out that Weiss did a good thing behind my back. But this is the end of the matter, and the god of destruction is not interested in taking care of these chores anymore. The most important thing now is to eat. But time passed by and the food never came. Hey, boss, why hasn't the food come yet? Do you want to keep driving? After more than an hour, the god of destruction finally couldn't wait any longer, and an angry scolding spread throughout the western capital. It's the voice of the god of destruction. Florence, far away in the center of the western capital, wrinkled every day, and then a teleport disappeared into Abu's house. When he reappeared, he saw the owner of the restaurant, who was apologizing to the god of destruction in the middle of the hotel. My lord, I'm really embarrassed. Your food has already been served to the disciples of the Valkyrie who just arrived. If they want it, I can't afford to offend you. The restaurant owner can't tell how hard it is now. After all, both sides are big forces. One holds more than half of the world's military power, and the other holds the world's most high-end combat power. In this world that was ordered to develop military force, the warrior alliance represented by Florence had the supreme status. You mean we're out of food? The god of destruction suddenly turned dark. And the boss was sweating profusely after hearing this. I talked about feelings for a long time, and you only noticed that your food was gone. Of course, what happened at this time was that Wisto became cold, and being robbed of his own meals was a big deal for the god of destruction and Whis. 2 guest officers, do you think this will work? The small shop is already doing its best to cook for you. I have invited you to this meal, and I will give you 2 more opportunities to eat and drink for free. I don't know what you think. The boss's cold sweat caused the envious eyes of the diners around him to straighten. And the boss is very painful, but there is no way. The current Red Ribbon Legion force is not a soldier who is hot on his own. HMPH, don't worry about it. Since this is the case, this hemisphere doesn't need to exist. How could the god of destruction accept such a small thing? His ruthless face has become frosty. In the end, a small gangster rushed out and said that he was with so-and-so, and he stole his wife halfway, not to mention his own house and car. In the end, I will give you some money with Shi Lao, and this is the same as that. Not good. Quote. Florence's face paled when she heard the god of destruction's words. He hurriedly rushed towards the place where the god of destruction was. Sir, god of destruction, we have something to say. There should be some misunderstanding. Florence's anxious words didn't dampen the god of destruction. A small ball of light suddenly appeared from his fingertips. The ball of light instantly disappeared into the ground. Boom! Suddenly the earth began to tremble, and the entire planet was shaking violently. What's the matter, Mr. Bobo? In the heavens, the gods felt the shock with a look of astonishment that the heavens could feel. He had never encountered such a thorny problem after becoming a god for so many years. Lord Tenjin, the earth is going to change a lot this time. At this moment, Mr. Bobo's originally calm face finally turned to fear. What the hell is going on, Mr. Bobo? I feel like my divine power is passing by rapidly. The power of the gods depends entirely on the strength of the planet. Of course, this power is not combat power, but the realm of gods. If a god's divine power is completely drained, he is no longer a god. For example, the god of destruction, if his divine power is exhausted before he realizes the energy of time and space, he will lose his long lifespan and eventually turn into ashes. God, the earth is about to shatter. Just as Mr. Bobo finished speaking, half of the earth burst open in an instant, and the cities and mountains of the entire planet starting from the west disappeared in this instant. Chapter 66. Will Beerus eat you for nothing? Nani, you didn't bring any money. Boom. An earth-shattering bang echoed across the entire earth. When the artificial satellites of some countries look down from the sky, they can see that half of the planet north of the equator has disappeared without a trace. However, under the magical destructive energy of the god of destruction, even if there is only the other half of the planet, he still operates stably. God of destruction, have you gone too far? Florence stood at the door of the store, looking at a straight dividing line starting from the center of the store, and the earth on the other side had completely disappeared in front of his eyes. This scene made Florence tremble. I do things, do I still need you to point my fingers? God of Destruction's pale golden pupils looked at Florence indifferently. This time even Weiss didn't speak to Florence. Although the two of them were smiling, their expressions were solemn, which reminded Florence of their identities. One is the supreme god of destruction, and the other is a god born at the same time as the universe. Thinking of this, Florence actually felt a trace of happiness in her heart. Thank you, Lord God of Destruction, for not destroying all the earth. I was just reckless. The diners around, who were already frightened, were shocked when they saw that the Valkyrie they admired actually thanked each other. After seeing this scene, the restaurant owner dared to neglect any more, and hurriedly urged the chef to bring the dishes one by one. No, how could the Valkyrie Lord thank the other party? The other party is a devil. Yeah, this big pit was made by the other party. Why should the Valkyrie Lord thank the other party? Are they a gang? A voice of doubt spread from the hotel, and the people around who knew that the perpetrator was here came to the door of the hotel to denounce the two culprits, the god of destruction and Wes. Florence listened to the voices outside getting louder and louder, and her face became more and more ugly. Sir, god of destruction, they are all things that they don't know. You don't have the same knowledge as them. Florence explained anxiously. After all, she has great feelings for this planet. It's all right, they won't say anything else soon. While eating, the god of destruction popped a purple energy ball with his fingertips. Florence's face changed drastically, but she didn't dare to step forward to stop it, because if it angered the god of destruction, let alone these people now, the entire earth would be buried with him. Boom boom boom. Ah! Help, the devil is going to kill again. Run. Countless muffled bombings and screams came from outside to the restaurant, while the god of destruction and Wes were still sparring and eating. Don't care about what you're doing. As if they were not the ones who killed hundreds of millions of people at will. The surrounding diners also stopped chattering, and they hurried out of the restaurant looking terrified. They didn't know that they didn't die because the god of destruction was merciful, but because they didn't want to destroy the restaurant and they didn't have a place to eat. Florence, who was on the side, remembered that the initiator of this incident was the disciple under his own door. Furious, she dodged directly to the second floor. Because the geography and sound insulation system of this compartment is very good, the people inside don't know what's going on outside. Boom. After a loud bang, the door of the compartment burst open. The people inside were about to scold, when the eyes darkened in an instant, and they all lost consciousness. HMPH, if you don't do business all day, you know how to swindle and deceive in my name. It seems that I really did something wrong. Florence finally understands why God of Destruction wants to destroy half of the planet. He is reminding himself and the people on Earth that there are existences in this world that they cannot afford to offend. Of course, most of it is because he is a god of destruction. He was robbed of things on such a small planet. Even destroying this galaxy is a trivial matter. And to kill so many people, it was people who insulted him first. Returning to Florence below the restaurant, I found that God of Destruction and Wes did not know when they had finished their meal. Boss, this dish of yours is not bad. I will take care of it next time. The god of destruction smiled with satisfaction and said to the trembling boss. Yes, thank you for your compliment. You can come as soon as you want in the future. The store is completely free. Dad is also a courageous person, so he didn't faint from fright. You're wrong, am I the kind of person who doesn't pay for food? Wes pays and the restaurant's losses are covered. While picking his teeth, the god of destruction instructed Wes next to him. But Weiss' face suddenly became embarrassed. This, god of destruction, I didn't bring any money. As soon as Weiss' words came out, the god of destruction's face turned green. Damn, are you kidding me? You asked me to eat without even having money. Destroyer cursed at Weiss in exasperation. If someone knew that he was a god of destruction and still ate the overlord meal, no one would laugh at him to death. Oh, god of destruction, don't I have a card, but I don't seem to have any money in it, but my subordinate said that I can eat for free all over the world. Weiss took out his card in embarrassment and smiled. It's over, what's the difference between this and eating Bawang's meal? Are you kidding me? God of destruction spat. Florence, who was on the side, saw this scene and her eyes lit up. Master God of Destruction, I'm here to help you set up the line. Having said that, Florence quickly took out her wallet and asked the boss to swipe the card. Of course Florence wouldn't dare to say anything like a treat. It would be bad if the God of Destruction thought he had insulted him. This time, the God of Destruction was a little embarrassed. Well, it's time for you. Wes and I will go out for a walk first, and we'll pay you back then. The blushing God of Destruction hurriedly took Wes out of the hotel. Oh, by the way, I don't have Dragon Ball, so he will be destroyed. If you need it, find it yourself. Just when the God of Destruction was about to leave the hotel, he turned his head and said something to Florence, and then walked away without looking back. Florence, who heard this sentence, was stunned for a moment, and then her face showed ecstasy. Seeing the God of Destruction walking away, she couldn't help but bow to the back of the God of Destruction. Thank you, God of Destruction. Florence then teleported back to Abu's home. By the way, Lord God of Destruction, why did you tell Shaolun that he could use Dragon Balls, so aren't you in vain to shock the Earthlings? On the street, Weiss asked the God of Destruction suspiciously while eating the ice cream he had packed away. What do you know? Lao Tzu is the kind of unreasonable person. Those who should be shocked will naturally be shocked. If I can't be shocked, he is not afraid even if I kill him once. Chapter 67. Keelan Egg Broken. What do you know? Lao Tzu is the kind of unreasonable person. Those who should be shocked will naturally be shocked. If I can't be shocked, he is not afraid even if I kill him once. The God of Destruction smiled disdainfully. He knew the inferiority of human beings very well from his previous life. Ho 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 ho, then kill a few more times. I don't believe they will be so tough. Weiss covered his mouth and started laughing. All right, your kid looks smiling, but I didn't expect that your heart is so broken. Forget it. Go to a jewelry store first and get some money. Otherwise, if I still owe money, I will be talking about the King of Heaven. There's no way to talk about it there. After finishing speaking, the God of Destruction and the two found the largest jewelry store and randomly used their divine power to create a little jewelry. In the eyes of the boss who looked at his grandfather, he spent 1/10 of the price to win the gem in the hands of the God of Destruction. Walking out of the jewelry store, the God of Destruction casually tossed the bank card in his hand. Lord God of Destruction, this amount of money should be enough. Weiss asked worriedly. If it wasn't enough, his priest's face would be lost. How do I know that it is enough to buy more than a dozen restaurants like that? Let him go and pay back the money first. The God of Destruction said angrily, and then the two of them teleported and disappeared on the street. In the next second, the two of them appeared at Abu's house. As soon as I saw it, I saw Abu and a few people in the yard ready to go looking for Dragon Balls. Among them, Xiao Wukong was also called over, and Kaylin was also pulled by Wukong to help. It's just that the tea is not there, and I don't know where to make the little girl. Yo, there are quite a lot of people. The god of destruction greeted everyone with a smile, without any sense of the culprit. Hey, god of destruction. Why did you come here? Goku, who was closest and had nothing to do, saw the god of destruction at a glance. What? God of destruction. He still has the face. Just after Xiao Wukong finished speaking, a furious voice came from the plane, and then, Abu's figure rushed out of the plane's cockpit and ran to the god of destruction. Okay, god of destruction, we haven't looked for you yet. You're better, you've brought it to the door yourself. Abu spit out the god of destruction without hesitation. Florence, who had just taken something out of the room, suddenly changed her expression. Abu, what are you talking about? Hurry up and apologize. Florence's words made Abu snort coldly, unmoved. Ha, are you finished? Hurry up and find your Dragon Balls when you're finished. By the way, this is your money back, so I'll take it. God of Destruction threw a card to Florence after a Haitian didn't respond at all to Abu's offense. Florence quickly took the card and put it away. Okay, hurry up if you want to find Dragon Balls. Tomorrow I want to watch the world's #1 martial arts conference on time. The arrogant god of destruction urged the others to dare not neglect them. Florence picked up the Dragon Ball radar and disappeared in front of them with a teleport. And Xiao Wukong also took another Dragon Ball radar and flew towards the nearest Dragon Ball shown above, driving a somersault cloud. Hey, god of destruction, we haven't finished talking yet, okay. Seeing that all the backers around him had left, Abu felt a little scared. Ho, Bulma, the god of destruction is very gentle. You don't have to worry about it. In fact, the god of destruction did this for the sake of the earth. Weiss smiled and circled the field. HMPH, you've destroyed half of the earth and still say you're kind. Abu snorted coldly. What? The earth was destroyed by this big cat. Well, it seems to me to eliminate the devil. At this moment, Klein suddenly jumped up and kicked the god of destruction because he was not familiar with the words. Hey, it's time for me to work hard for a year to show off my skills. Krillin sneered. Ah, this person is not a fool. Even Abudu was stunned, watching Klein, who was rushing towards the god of destruction, couldn't help closing his eyes. Yo, the little bald head is not too brave. The god of destruction gave an evil laugh, then grabbed the foot he kicked over with his right hand. What? The expression of Keelan, who was unable to move, changed, and he wanted to kick the other foot. Suddenly, the god of destruction strikes. I saw his right hand clenched his fist and punched Krillin's lower body. Crack. The sound of a broken egg suddenly reached Abu's ears. Curious, she opened her eyes and saw that Krillin had fallen asleep to the ground, foaming at the mouth. Wow, god of destruction, aren't you too ruthless, you've knocked people out. Abu's words made Weiss cover his mouth and forcibly hold back his hilarious laughter. Okay, I'm hungry, hurry up and get me something to eat. The god of destruction rubbed his stomach, not realizing that he had just eaten a big meal. I see, I really don't know if you and Wukong are two brothers, they know how to eat every day. Abu glared at the god of destruction angrily, and then hurriedly called an ambulance robot for Krillin, and then ordered the robot chef to cook. Poor Krillin was twitching on the stretcher of several icy robots. In the middle of the courtyard, Florence's figure appeared again and again from time to time, put down the Dragon Balls and left. When Xiao Wukong went through countless hardships, he finally returned to the backyard of Abu's house unkempt. Ha, I got a planet. Little Wukong jumped out of the sky, happily holding the planet in his hand and laughing. Oh, Xiaolun is over long ago, just waiting for you alone. It's a pity that no one cheered for it, and when he looked closely, he found that the other 6 Dragon Balls were already glittering on the ground. Wow, Grandpa's here too, that's great. Xiao Wukong left the next planet and ran towards the 4 planets. Seeing that the situation was not good, Abu hurriedly shouted at Dragon Ball, come out, Shenlong, and realize my wish. Little Wukong didn't notice that the 7 dragon balls began to glow violently, and still happily ran towards his grandfather. Boom! A huge roar spread across half the globe. Roar! What followed was the huge roar of the dragon, and Xiao Wukong, who was caught off guard, was directly taken into the sky by the rising dragon. The dragon in the sky seemed to feel something on his head, and then he shook his head, and Xiao Wukong rushed into the sky like a meteor. After Shenlong finished this, he smiled evilly and then revealed most of his body that was sealed in the Dragon Ball. People who collect Dragon Balls. Say your wish. Any wish can come true. The sound of Shenlong's arrogant roar spread all over the western capital. And when his stern eyes swept to the ground above the god of destruction who was eating happily in a pavilion, Shenlong's cold sweat suddenly flowed down. Hama approved. Lao Long, how can I be so unlucky? I meet the god of destruction every day. Chapter 68. Boomer's Airport. Master God of Destruction, you have been doing well recently. I'll give you my best regards. Shenlong's original mighty and domineering expression suddenly disappeared, replaced by a flattering and wretched smile. Fortunately, Abu and the others are no longer surprised, and Shenlong has already fixed a wretched image in their eyes. Of course, Shenlong wouldn't care about the opinions of Abu and the others. He was still wondering if he could win the favor of the god of destruction if he was so humble. Stop chattering, why didn't you see Lao Su eating? What should I do? Who knows, the goodwill is not won, only the abuse of the god of destruction is obtained. Shenlong's face froze immediately, but how dare he say anything, unless his boss Super Shenlong has the confidence to act as a god of destruction or even a priest. Yes, Xiaolong will work here. Shenlong moved his head in front of Abu and the others, and then whispered again what he said at the beginning. Dragon, let the earth return to the way it was 3 days ago. Because there is only one wish, Abu and the others can only play word games. Shenlong raised his head with a flash of red light in his eyes, and then messages passed through his mind. Instantly his expression became a little embarrassed. Your wish is to ask the god of destruction if I want to do this, otherwise, even if I restore the earth, it will still be destroyed by the god of destruction, and even I will be implicated. Shenlong is indeed cowardly, because the destruction of the god of destruction is different from the killing of Piccolo. After being destroyed by the god of destruction, he truly disappeared, and even if he resurrected his soul, he was no longer his current self. Nani, do you want to ask him? Dare he say no? Just do it if you tell me to do it. Don't worry, I'm covering you. Abu glanced at the god of destruction who was eating happily, and patted his airport chest to assure. As the saying goes, there is no flesh on the chest, and the work is not firm. How can Shenlong believe Abu's words? Do as she says. Just when Shenlong was entangled, the god of destruction did not know when he had finished eating, and stood beside Abu. His voice scared Abu, almost jumping up. Little dragon, follow orders. Shenlong, who got the consent of the god of destruction, breathed a sigh of relief, and then his figure rose into the sky, hovering in the starry sky. A streak of brilliance spread over the earth, and the other half of the earth that had been destroyed by the god of destruction swelled up like a fermented steamed bun. Every few seconds, the whole earth recovers the cause, and the human beings who died originally grew out of the soil on the ground just as Nuwa created human beings. After doing all this, the dragon circled and flew back to the home of Exadu Abu. Your wish is fulfilled, then I will leave. Shenlong said something to calm Abu. But after speaking, the face that was pretending to be forced suddenly became wretched. That, god of destruction, Xiao Xiao is leaving now. Please be here. If you need anything in the future, just call Xiao Xiao. The appearance of Shenlong instantly turned into a wretched appearance, instantly destroyed the noble atmosphere that he had created at the beginning. After speaking, the dragon turned into 7 rays of light and disappeared into the sky. Finally over. Abu smiled slightly. At this time, she can be said to be the savior of the earth. After all, she made the Dragon Ball radar. If it wasn't for the Dragon Ball radar, Florence might not be able to find the 7 Dragon Balls even if it took a year. Time will not be able to resurrect these Earthlings. Ha, I want to sleep when I'm full, thank you for your hospitality, Wes, we're going home. When the Shenlong disappeared, the destruction god keenly discovered that the seal on the Shenlong seemed to have dissipated a large layer. Hey, god of destruction, aren't you here waiting for us to watch this martial arts conference tomorrow? Abu asked suspiciously. Ho ho ho, the god of destruction is going to sleep in a different dimension, otherwise, when he wakes up, you will all be old and dead. Wis explained with a smile on the side, but if Abu looked at it himself, he would find that Wis still had a large piece of cake hidden in his hand. Well, Sister Weiss, you all go first, just leave the matter here to me. Florence and Weiss looked at each other and nodded. Afterwards, the god of destruction and Weiss turned into a light and disappeared above the ground. Very good, in this way we can deal with other martial Taoists well tomorrow. Florence smiled slightly, she didn't care about other martial arts masters, but his disciples and Wukong were the first to participate in this kind of martial arts competition. Suddenly, Florence was stunned. Didn't Wukong fly just now? Where did he go now? Florence's words instantly stunned Abu. And Krillin's gone anyway. Another question from Florence made Abu even more embarrassed. At this moment, a figure in the sky smashed towards the ground like a meteorite. Frightened, Abu quickly moved aside. Boom! After a loud bang, Wukong smashed a huge pothole into the ground. At the bottom of the pit is Goku with only one tail left. No, Wukong is here. As for Krillin, it seems that he wants to defeat the god of destruction, and he is knocked out by the god of destruction. Abu spread his hands. These two are really looking for trouble. Florence shook her head helplessly, and after pulling out her brother Kakarot from the pit, Florence came to the infirmary. When she heard the diagnosis of the medical robot, her whole face turned ugly. Pulverized testicular fragmentation that cannot be repaired with current medical care. Florence and Abu fell into contemplation, and then they looked at each other, both seeing the strangeness in each other's eyes. I can't believe that the god of destruction has such a hobby, alas. Poor baby. After instructing the medical robot to do its best to heal, the two sighed and walked out of the medical room shaking their heads. On the other hand, the god of destruction, who originally said that he was going to sleep, was of course not going to sleep. God of destruction, where are you going to play this time? Weiss understood the mind of the god of destruction, and of course knew that he wasn't really going back to sleep. Let's let this go. Weiss, how do I usually treat you? The god of destruction suddenly stared at Weiss, making Weiss a little scared. Of course, what's wrong, god of destruction? Although I have a bad premonition in my heart, can Weiss say something bad? That's good. In that case, shouldn't the milkshake cake you stole from Abu's house be divided? The god of destruction's pale golden pupils stared at the hand that Weiss had been hiding behind his back. What? I don't understand what the god of destruction is talking about. Where can I get it? What is a milkshake cake? I don't know anything. Weiss quickly shook his head in denial. Since this is the case, I will start to grab it. The god of destruction sneered, causing Weiss' face to change dramatically. Suddenly, his eyes lit up, and he took the cake out of his back in an instant, then stuck out his tongue and quickly licked it around. Immediately, the god of destruction's expression changed wildly. Weiss, you are courting death. In the universe, the two of them were suddenly confused. And on a green planet far away from the Earth. Nilu, run, I'll stop them. Chapter 69, The Ultimate Profound Truth. Assimilation. Namek. A planet full of hope and love. Hundreds of years ago, due to the overexploitation of the Nameks, the environment of Namek has undergone tremendous changes. Finally, one day, a disaster happened, and the Nameks died in that catastrophe, leaving only the current Great Elder alive. The Elder looked at the messed up Namek, and with a heavy heart, summoned the divine dragon Purunga, restoring the environment of Namek. Because of the characteristics of Purunga, he can only revive one person at a time. The Great Elder finally chose not to revive any one person, leaving him to suffer endless grief alone. Under his unremitting efforts for hundreds of years, Namek has recovered to the best stage. However, just a few days ago, another catastrophe struck. The Great Elder, who was resting on the Elder Rock, suddenly felt an incomparably noble aura. This breath is countless times nobler than the Namek celestial god who fell in the last catastrophe he had ever seen. Just when he thought God favored Namek, God brought a group of demons from hell. The strength of the demon is not very strong, but it corresponds to the average strength of the Nameks. But the most terrible thing is that the number of demons is not only several times that of the Nameks, but it is as if they have not eaten for tens of thousands of years. Eat whatever you see, every attack is fatal, and there is no scruples at all. In just a few days, the Nameks suffered heavy casualties. In a village of Namek, a group of strange-shaped demons is wanton massacre of Namekians. The Nameks in battle will die if they are not careful. And those Namekian children were surrounded by the dead, and the demons were not allowed to come in. Suddenly, an adult Namekian was slapped on the head by a demon due to lack of physical strength. Hills. With the death of this Namekian, the Namekians, who were still struggling to support them, suddenly became a mess. Run, run with the kids, I'll stop them. A tall Namekian threw a punch in his hand, instantly hitting all the Namekian children dozens of meters away. Damn monsters, all die. The big man roared, rushed over and hugged one of the more powerful demons. No. Hurry up and stop. It seemed that he had guessed what the big man wanted to do, and all the Nameks in the back shouted anxiously. Boom. Unfortunately, the big man didn't have time to listen to their shouts, and instantly turned into a huge light that enveloped the hundreds of demons around him. Countless screams came from the explosion range. Not only the demons, but also other Nameks were injured to varying degrees. Damn brat, actually killed so many of us. At this moment, a tall demon with a height of more than 20 meters suddenly flew over from a distance, looking at the huge pothole in front of him with a cold face. Damn, it's all you, I'm going to kill you. At this moment, a Namekian child rushed out of the crowd and charged towards the tall demon. Although the child is young, his strength has reached the level of an ordinary Namekian. It's a pity that the giant demon in front of him is the chief leader of the battle against Namek this time. Hey, is there still such a hot-blooded child? The giant demon sneered, and a small finger-sized energy bomb popped out of his finger, breaking one of the child's arms in an instant. At the same time, the figure was also beaten upside down and flew back to the group of children. Damn, Nelu, come back soon. The adult Namekians who were entangled around looked at Naru's arm with a splitting gaze. But the stubborn Naru just stared at the giant demon in front of him with hatred on his face. Nice eyes, if you are a devil, maybe I will accept you as a foster child, it's a pity. The giant demon shook his head helplessly, and then a larger ball of light condensed in his hand. Guys, I need your help. Nelu's tender eyes were full of determination. Nelu, do you want to use that trick? But the elders said. Some children hesitated. It's time to take care of the elders. Besides, it's time for us to live and die. Naru didn't behave like a child of a few years old at all. Okay, we support you. Well, so do we. I will join too. The Namekian children reached a consensus and put their arms on Naru's shoulders. Guys, we will fight together in the future. Naru smiled slightly, and what he didn't see was that the children behind him all exchanged glances. Ha ha ha, a group of children still want to change the situation, it's so naive, all die. The giant demon sneered, and the light ball condensed in his hand flicked, and the light ball suddenly swung towards the group of children. It's now, assimilation. Nelu shouted with red eyes, and then all the dozens of children turned into a dazzling light. When the light was generated, almost the entire planet's Nameks looked in this direction. The ball of light shot by the giant demon was like a rock sinking into the sea into this dazzling light. What? The giant demon looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. Damn, it's all useless for us, otherwise Nilu and the others don't need to. Damn the devil, die for me. The surrounding adult Namaks had red eyes, and they used all their strength to charge at the demons. Unfortunately, as time goes on, they will be defeated. But the giant demon is not happy now, because the dazzling light ball in front of him has shrunk to the size of a person. And no matter what kind of power he used, he was eventually absorbed by the big light ball. Thorn. Suddenly, a terrifying bolt of lightning shot out from the ball of light and hit the giant demon's feet at once. The giant demon hurried back in fright. Boom boom boom. Afterwards, countless thunderbolts erupted again, all of them hitting the giant demon. Under the embarrassed escape, the subordinates of the giant demon were blown to ashes by the lightning strike one by one. What the hell is going on? All the boys come out to me, there is a kind of one-on-one fight with me. The giant demon angrily cursed at the light ball that was still in place. And after smashing him and scolding, the light ball suddenly shrank violently. Bang! The ball of light exploded suddenly, and countless fragments of the ball of light shot towards the giant demon. Look at me, go to hell. The giant demon scolded angrily and hit a qigong in his hand, instantly dissolving the fragments of light. Yo, the strength is not bad, it's all right. At this moment, a playful voice reached the ears of the giant demon. Chapter 70, The Strongest Namekian in History. What? The sudden sound made the giant creature's complexion change greatly. He even erected a shield to protect himself. Die. Boom. However, after he heard such an icy voice, his entire consciousness instantly fell into darkness. The giant demon's body really exploded into countless pieces and disappeared into the human world. In the second after it exploded into countless pieces, a green light penetrated the demons one by one like a thread, connecting them into one piece. When the last demon was penetrated, a young Namekian suddenly appeared in front of all the Namaks. Disappear. After the young Namekian said lightly, a series of explosions reached everyone's ears. In an instant, the demons that made all the Namaks feared disappeared on the ground. Are you Naru, or who? The seriously injured Namekian said with a slightly sad voice while holding his arms. Assimilation means that other clansmen have disappeared forever in the human world. Not only the body in the pure sense has disappeared, but even the soul has disappeared. I am Naru, and they have concentrated all their power on me. The young Nilu's expression was also a little bad. The combat power of the giant demon has reached 10,000, which has far exceeded the average level of the Namaks, and the combat power before his assimilation was only 2,000. But the combat power after assimilation is as high as 1 million or more. However, every time he thought that this combat power was achieved by consuming the lives of his compatriots, Nilu felt a heavy heart. Oh, that's all, their sacrifices are valuable, at least, we don't have to worry about these demons killing other clansmen. So far they have nothing to say. In this case, I will kill the other demons first, and then we will rebuild our home. After he finished speaking, Naru was about to fly. I advise you not to do this. At this moment, a cold voice came from the sky. Nilu's whole contracted violently, and quickly looked towards the source of the figure. The other Namaks are also on the verge of enemies. I saw a purple figure and a man with white hair and blue face falling from the sky. What made Nilu's face dignified was that he couldn't tell how much fighting strength the two had. Your Excellency is suitable for human beings. What's the point of coming to my Namek? Why do you say that you can't kill all the demons? Nilu did not act rashly. The assimilation of a group of people not only gave him great strength, but also gave him an unparalleled IQ. Ho ho ho, this is the God of Destruction, Lord God of Destruction. We came to see it when we were bored. As for saying that we can't kill all the demons, you are stupid, they were sent here, and you killed them all. I will send you another batch of stronger ones, and you will end up dying even worse. Quote. The god of destruction didn't bother to explain this. After all, this time he came here to find Farunga, not to see these Namaks to play at home. What? Is there such a thing? Everyone automatically ignored what the god of destruction was, but it was reasonable. After all, the news about life and death was in front of people's eyes. Okay, I've told you everything. I just want to ask if you can give us the Dragon Balls. We have something to ask Palenga. The god of destruction directly interrupted a group of Namaks who wanted to ask more. What? Do you want Dragon Balls? Who the hell are you, and what is your purpose? Sure enough, as soon as the god of destruction's words came out, everyone's expressions changed drastically. After all, sometimes the preciousness of Dragon Balls is much more precious than their lives. Oops, god of destruction, look at you, you don't have any speaking skills, you're scaring these little guys. Weiss glanced at the god of destruction with contempt. Let's put it this way, we want to ask Dragon Ball a few questions, and we'll end after asking, and there's nothing else. Weiss explained with a smile. It's impossible, we will never give you Dragon Ball if you don't identify yourself. However, Naru's words suddenly choked Weiss to the point of being speechless. Wow, I'm talking to you, are you going to make trouble? We all said that this is the god of destruction, and I am the priest who serves him. Weiss was furious. No, we don't know whether your identities are true or false, so we can only be embarrassed. However, Naru once again rejected the glass-hearted Weiss. Master God of Destruction, I want to hit someone, do you agree? The words of Vespi's twitching face but not smiling instantly made the Namaks alert. Fight if you want, trouble, isn't it better to just destroy it? The God of Destruction snorted coldly, but did not intervene. Ho 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 ho, forget it, I'm a civilized person. Weiss pointed out that Sang's words of scolding Weiss suddenly made the god of destruction black. However, he was not good at fighting with Weiss in front of people. He raised his finger and flicked the tip of his finger a little. An invisible energy spread throughout the entire Namek planet. In the terrified eyes of all the Namaks in different parts of the world, the Dragon Balls soared into the sky and all gathered towards the place where the god of destruction was. The Namekians, who felt that something was wrong, could not protect themselves at this time, otherwise they would definitely follow. But there were also some demons who wanted to come and see what happened. Boom boom boom. After 7 roars, 7 huge Dragon Balls fell in front of the god of destruction and the others. What? This is Dragon Ball. Impossible, Dragon Ball can't be carried with superpowers at all, how can such a long distance chi extend so far? The wounded Namaks around have returned to normal under the treatment of the medical Namaks. Your Excellency, please put down the Dragon Ball, otherwise we can only take action. With a cold face, Naru threatened the god of destruction and Weiss. But how could the two of them be in the mood to pay attention to him as a little kid? Weiss, do you speak Namek language? Of course, it's easy to meet them in such simple language. Weiss said proudly. The arrogant appearance of the two directly made the self-proclaimed arrogant Namekite look ugly. If that's the case, then we can only fight. Boom. Before Naru's words were finished, a huge force came from his face. He was known as the strongest Namekian in history, and he flew out in an instant, his mouth full of teeth flying around. Nilu. Naru, are you alright? A cry of exclamation reached Nelu's dizzy ears, and it was only then that he realized that he had been beaten. Immediately his eyes were red, and he was about to get up and take revenge when he was angry. Not far away, the god of destruction waved indifferently. Boom. Chapter 71. The Ancient Demon in the Dragon's Body. PFF'd. Nilu spit out a mouthful of blood, and the whole person flew out like a broken sack for dozens of meters and smashed on the ground. The god of destruction yawned after finishing this. Sure enough, it's still the most fun to play with children. God of destruction laughed evilly. Having said that, a god of destruction is such a coercion. After coming to this world, he often bullies 3 or 4-year-old children, and his attacks are more ruthless each time. In front of him, Nay, who had taken hormones, was only 4 or 5 years old. But because the Namaks mature early and have a relatively high IQ, Naru looks very mature. Since that's the case, I'll call Palengar first. After Whis smiled and glanced at a few dragon balls in the distance, he began to speak a strange language. Come out and bring Shenlong Poranga, and fulfill my wish. Namek language. Boom. As soon as Whis finished speaking, the 7 dragon balls burst into powerful bursts of light. Roar. After a huge roar, a divine dragon like Aladdin's lamp rose into the sky from among the 7 dragon balls. Hovering in the sky. Looking at Poranga, who couldn't get down from jumping in the sky, the god of destruction sweated helplessly. Finally, a minute later, Poranga finally finished playing, and he slowly fell in front of a group of Namaks and the god of destruction. Little mortals, what are your wishes? Any wish can be granted 3. Poranga's arrogant words made the Namaks on the ground extremely excited. It's the patron saint Porangar. Great God, save us Namaks. Yes, Porangar, please banish the demons from our planet. Yes, our wish is to expel the demons. One by one Namekians hurriedly began to make wishes. Okay, I see. Palenga raised his head when he heard the wish, and the red light in his eyes flashed slightly. At the same time, all the demons who were still fighting with others on Namek disappeared in an instant. Well, your first wish has come true, let's say your second wish. Such a wish is simply too easy for Porangar. As long as these people are sent to other planets, it will be over. No, there are still 2 demons, Poranga, have you forgotten? Yes, and the 2 of them. The Namaks who heard Porangar's words suddenly realized that the god of destruction and Whis were still standing there. At this time, the pale golden pupils of the god of destruction were staring at Porangar in the sky. Huh, and demons. Poranga was stunned for a moment, and slowly moved his eyes to the 2 gods of destruction pointed at by the Namekians. In an instant, a large amount of sweat flowed down from Poranga's forehead. Bibibi, Lord God of Destruction, why are you here? Palenga's original mighty and domineering look suddenly withered. Poranga's flattering expression was exactly the same as that of the dragon on earth, and the Namekians on the ground were stunned. They had never heard of the dragon Porangar doing this to anyone. You must know that it was the great elder of Namek, the maker of Poranga. When he saw Poranga, Poranga had a disdainful expression. Why, I came to see you specially, are you still not happy? The god of destruction's indifferent words caused the complexion of divine dragon Poranga to change dramatically. No, Xiaolong definitely doesn't mean that, you said it. Porangar shook his head again and again, afraid that the god of destruction would be really angry. Well, I have something to do with you. The god of destruction suddenly flew up slowly and came to a row in Poranga. Gudong. Palenga swallowed and asked cautiously, is there anything the god of destruction wants Xiaolong to do? That humble appearance disappointed the Namaks for a while. But how can Shenlong pay attention to the thoughts of these ants? Hey, nothing, I just want to play in your body. The god of destruction suddenly laughed evilly. Immediately, he held a void in the terrified eyes of divine dragon Palenga. Chang. After a sound of confinement, Palengar found that he was unable to move. Want to enter my body? Could it be that god of destruction is gay? Damn it, how can that be? Porangar wanted to twist his body, but unfortunately his strength was not even an ant in front of the god of destruction. No, I'm a serious dragon. In Palenga's desperate eyes, the god of destruction turned into a light and rushed towards him. Poranga closed his eyes in despair, but after a few seconds, the chrysanthemum pain he imagined did not come. But Poranga felt a big hole in the seal in his body. Damn it, the god of destruction has entered the seal. If I accidentally let the devil out, I'll be finished. Poranga is even more anxious than being blasted, knowing that the meaning of his existence is to seal the demon in his body. These demons are real ancient demons, and each of them is extremely powerful. Of course, that's not what worries him the most. If these ancient demons are released, they will disappear into the sky. Not wanting to die, he could only pray that the god of destruction would be merciful not to kill these ancient demons or let them out. Ho 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 ho, are you worried about your own life? At this moment, Whis on the ground suddenly spoke with a smile. You don't have to worry, no demons can escape without me, but there are some things you may have to accept. Whis's smiling words made Porangar feel a bit wrong. May I ask what the priest said? Palenga swallowed. Ho 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 ho, the god of destruction likes fighting the most. If he fights with the people inside, you can't blame us if it affects you. Whis's wicked laugh made Palengar go to hell. It's coming, it looks like I'm doomed. In despair, he closed his eyes. On the other hand, the god of destruction, who destroyed the seal and entered Palenga's body, had an insight into the structure of the seal in Shenlong's body as soon as he came in. Bah! After a landing sound, the god of destruction landed in the sealed space. The sealed space is a different dimension similar to the spiritual time house, and its size is the size of a sun. The conditions here are extremely severe, and of course they have no impact on the god of destruction. In the distance, a few iron chains that reach the sky stand in this purgatory-like space. These chains seal off huge cocoons. 7 cocoons should be 7 ancient demons. Feeling the powerful strength inside, the god of destruction smiled slightly. Immediately before reaching one of the cocoons with a relatively hidden breath, the god of destruction raised his right hand and slashed the cocoon from the chain. Dong 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 dong. Suddenly, the giant cocoon that fell to the ground began to beat violently like a heart. Boom! After an explosion, the entire cocoon burst open. Chapter 72, Purunga, who feels hollowed out. After the light cocoon exploded, a birdman with a pair of huge wings behind his back appeared in front of the god of destruction. Ah, isn't this the legendary angel? It's just too ugly. The god of destruction couldn't help but complain when he looked at the fake angel with distorted facial features. However, the strength of this angel is not said, it has reached the level of Tengai. If it really follows the development of Dragon Ball GT, Kakarot will have to kneel in the end. Huh, god of destruction. The moment the other party saw the god of destruction, his expression changed drastically. The god of destruction still has pure combat power of 200 or 300 Gai, plus the destructive energy. Even if the strongest sealed in Palengar comes out, it will be a death. The god of destruction, I don't know why you asked me to come out. Knowing that he was defeated, the fake angel hurriedly bowed his head to the god of destruction, and at the same time, he was glad that he didn't get dizzy and collide with the opponent. Do you still know that I am the god of destruction? It seems that you still have some knowledge. This sentence of the god of destruction is not an arrogant statement, but that the existence of the god of destruction is sometimes even known to the god of destruction. Of course, this is only because the idiot of the god of destruction does not know anything. Although the other party has an extraordinary origin, it is still a bit difficult to get in touch with the god of destruction at this stage. The god of destruction is joking. In fact, our demon clan used to be the subordinates of the god of destruction. We just went the wrong way and made some mistakes with the old devil, so we were sealed. The fake angel smiled awkwardly, but the god of destruction just smiled contemptuously if he avoided the important. He won't believe the other party's nonsense. These ancient demons were killed thousands of years ago under the leadership of the ancient demon king. I don't know how many gods of destruction. The universes that were destroyed by the whole king were occupied by the ancient demons before the whole king shot. Erase it all. In the end, the dragon god came forward and sealed all the ancient demons in the super dragon. And every time a new set of Dragon Balls is created, the demons inside will be divided into a part of these dragons as an energy source. I called you out this time because my men are short of manpower now, and I need your help. I don't know if you mean that. The god of destruction directly expressed his thoughts. Although these demons are not enough to slap them with one hand, each of them is the best in the universe. For example, at the power conference, the fake angel in front of him can definitely fuck 95% of the people. To be your subordinate. This. The fake angel was stunned when he heard the god of destruction. What? You don't want to? The god of destruction narrowed his eyes slightly, and the trace of aura emanating from his body directly caused the fake angel to shiver. No, how could I be unwilling? I don't want to hide in this ghost place anymore, but Lord God of Destruction, if you do this, the priest and the people above you will be held accountable. If the fake angel seems to care, it is actually to test whether the god of destruction in front of him is really strong enough to even ignore the priest. Ha, the priest you said is right next to Puranga. Do you think he would let me in if he had any objections? God of Destruction smiled dismissively. His words made the fake angel slightly relieved. In that case. Having said that, the fake angel knelt down on one knee with a solemn expression, the wings on his back fluttered slightly, and pieces of wagwong radiated from his body. Immediately, a golden feather fell from his wings. My angel, the king of the dead, Lucifer pays respect to the god of destruction. From now on, the glory of the god of destruction will be with me. Lucifer's solemn appearance made the god of destruction nodded slightly. The golden feathers of the angel family are equivalent to a person's soul, and offering golden feathers means that the other party has offered their loyalty for life. Very good, you will be grateful for your choice today. I will help you restore the former glory of your angel family. Since the other party has expressed his attitude, the god of destruction will of course not treat the other party badly. By the way, as far as I know, the angels are eventful and beautiful people. Why are you so ugly? The god of destruction, who was solemn 1 second ago, said something that made Lucifer extremely embarrassing the next. This is actually my father is not the angel clan, but the leader of the fallen angel clan. Although I belong to the bright angel, but... Lucifer's words made God of Destruction understand at once. It seems that not all hybrids are good. However, the god of destruction did not bother with this issue anymore. After that, the god of destruction cut the light cocoons one by one from the iron chain. The reborn demons are worried about whether they will be killed by the god of destruction after they go out. However, there are two small tricks in it. These two people were directly blocked by the god of destruction in the sealed space of Porangar with dozens of iron chains in the sky, as a source of energy for Porangar. This hand frightened the other demons to tremble slightly. After all, being sealed inside will suffer from powerful pain every moment, and these pains will intensify as the number of chains increases. Since you are determined to follow me, then remember, don't make small moves behind me, or you will come back here at any time and be imprisoned forever. After the god of destruction gave a warning, he directly broke the sealed space and came to Palengar. As the 5 figures of the god of destruction just came out, Palenga, who was imprisoned behind him, wilted like a deflated ball. The body shrunk directly. Palenga, you can go, nothing to do with you. After dismantling Porangar, the god of destruction let him go. Puranga, who felt that his body was hollowed out, could only helplessly rush to the sky, and then turned into 7 lights and disappeared in front of the god of destruction and the others. Who are these people? They have such a terrifying aura. They came out of Poranga's body. Are they the gods who control Poranga? The Namaks, who were shocked by the slightest traces of energy unintentionally radiated by several demons, were making wild guesses there. God of Destruction, are you finished? Weiss smiled at the god of destruction and the demons behind him. Because of the absorption of Dragon Balls, these demons have something similar to Dragon Balls attached to their heads. It's over. I will send these people to coordinate the work of other demons and the Demon King God. Of course, the most important thing is to brand them the cosmic logo of the 7th universe and pull the overall level of the universe. The idea of God of Destruction is very simple. If all these people are made into the 7th universe, the overall strength will increase. After all, the number of strong people is crucial to the assessment of the universe. Leave these things to me, and I will explain everything. Isn't the god of destruction going to see the world's first martial arts conference on Earth? You should go first. Whis said, waved the 5 ancient demons into his scepter, and began to use the origin of the universe to brand it. Yeah, the first world's #1 martial arts conference in the anime. If you don't go to see it, it's simply unreasonable. The god of destruction smiled slightly, and a teleport disappeared above the starry sky Namek. Chapter 73. The era of all staff fighting the 5 scumbags. Earth. Western capital. As the most prosperous metropolis now, Exedu has become the economic and trade center of the world. In this era of martial arts ordered by God, the Temple of Martial Artists in the Western capital has become a temple in the dream of Earth martial artists. There are not only the legendary teacher Wu Tian who has lived for hundreds of years as the chief coach, but also the famous martial arts masters from all over the world as special coaches. The 21st World's #1 Martial Arts Conference was also successfully held at the martial arts field of the Goddess of Martial Arts. On this day, the streets that were already crowded with people were even more crowded. Wow hoo hoo, this little girl's waist is really thin. Wow, this little girl's legs are so long and white. I can't stand it anymore. Wow 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 wow, this young woman's big boobs, it's just. In the crowded street, a short and wretched old man with peach eyes shuttled through the crowd. Every time he saw a beautiful girl, the old man would stare at each other's thighs. Suddenly, the old man who was watching happily suddenly felt a sharp pain in his ear. Okay, old man say, I'll tell you where did your old boy die, no wonder you're so happy here. Just when the old man wanted to scold, a cold girl's voice suddenly wilted. Langy, you can't blame me for this, these little girls are so beautiful. Turtle Immortal said that even if he died, he could not give up his voyeuristic hegemony. What? You mean you've got a point? Let's see if I won't kill you, a rotten old man today. Blonde Lanchi immediately became furious when she heard the sophistry of the Turtle Immortal. A handful of Gatling came out of nowhere. Ah, someone with a gun. In an instant, the whole street was boiling, and the already chaotic street became even more chaotic. Da da da. It's a pity, how could Lanchi care about this? Pull the trigger directly, and Gatling instantly burst out with countless bullets that don't cost money. Ha ha ha, go to hell, old man. Lanchi laughed wildly and pointed the gun at the turtle fairy. So frightened, the Turtle Immortal could only flee in embarrassment. Brush. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the middle of the two, so frightened Lanchi directly swept Gatling towards the figure that just appeared. Ding 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 ding. A series of metal collision sounds came from the person who just appeared. The deflated bullet fell to the ground. The god of destruction, who just came from Namek, felt bad. As soon as he arrived, he was beaten by a mad woman with a blue-fired Gatling, and even the Tintin below was shot. Fortunately, this kind of hot weapon doesn't even bother to move his sensory nerves. Hey, crazy woman, are you finished? Looking at Lanchi Destruction God who was startled and then shot at him, his face darkened. Damn, stinky cat, scaring the old lady. Blonde Lanchi took out another bazooka from somewhere, and seemed to be willing to kill the god of destruction. HMPH, a mad woman is shameless, so you can just stay inside and don't have to come out. At this moment, God of Destruction finally felt that the other party was a little too much. The blonde Lanchi in the original book is the kind of person who doesn't like to take care of others. She takes out a gun anytime, anywhere and swipes at random. If the people she met were ordinary people, not Wukong, they would have been killed many times. The god of destruction's finger was empty, and an invisible light passed through the air, hitting the blonde Lanchi's forehead in an instant. Ah! Suddenly a sneeze came, and Lanchi's blonde hair turned blue in an instant. The wavy hair has a strange charm, and the blue-haired Lanchi's cute little expression also makes the Turtle Immortal behind the god of destruction see straight eyes. It's amazing, the blue-haired Lanchi is better. Turtle Immortal said tisk tisk loudly. Ah, where is this? How am I here? Blue-haired Lanchi hurriedly threw Gatling in his hand, completely unaware of what had just happened. And her performance left the god of destruction speechless. They've been doing things like this since I was a child. Isn't it normal to suddenly be in an unfamiliar environment? Is it necessary to be so surprised? The god of destruction is powerless to complain about this setting, but he didn't come to this place to pay attention to it. Blonde Lanchi has been imprisoned in his body for a few months and will not come out again. Are you the god of destruction that Abu and the others said? At this moment, the turtle immortal behind the god of destruction finally saw the identity of the god of destruction. The god of destruction turned his head and nodded indifferently. Hey, old man Wushan, nicknamed Turtle Immortal, we have seen it before, although your old man may have forgotten it, please give us more advice from the god of destruction in the future. Turtle Immortal smiled meanly. How could this old boy not know that there is a great god in front of him? If you hug someone else's thigh, you can peek at whatever you want in the future, even if the King of Heaven is here, he won't dare to say anything more. Damn, why is the Turtle Immortal laughing so vulgarly? Which hot-blooded old man in the original book? God of Destruction rolled his eyes. Oh, that's right, Abu and the others are already waiting at the martial arts conference. Old Turtle, I'll take you there. The Turtle Immortal said, leaning on a cane, and asked Shang Lanchi to walk towards the venue with the God of Destruction. Under the leadership of the chief coach Wu Tian, the road was unimpeded and came directly to the martial arts field of this conference. Master God of Destruction, you must know that the current Earth is much stronger than in the past few years. Under the leadership of Shaolun, the status of my old bones is getting lower and lower. Turtle Immortal said proudly and did not forget to laugh at himself. However, the god of destruction was just watching around boredly. At this time, the Earth was no longer the planet that was just fighting with guns. After all, the current Earth can be said to be a planet without guns. Isn't your strength several times stronger than last year? You still deserve the title of Teacher Wu Tian. God of Destruction teased the Turtle Immortal when he saw that the Turtle Immortal had reached a combat power of 800. Lord God of Destruction, don't kill me. With my fighting power, can't you blow it to death in one breath? Turtle Immortal said embarrassedly. Maybe. God of Destruction noncommittal, one breath. Does it work? Even the super god, Florence, might not be able to catch his breath in front of the God of Destruction. The cute Lanchi glanced curiously at the God of Destruction and wondered why the Turtle Immortal, who was very powerful in her eyes, was so afraid of the cat in front of her. I really want to rub the big cat's head. Lanchi looked at the little stars in the eyes of the God of Destruction. What is this girl doing looking at me like this? Wouldn't it be so heavy, even the cat doesn't want to let go. The God of Destruction couldn't feel the eager eyes behind him, and a drop of sweat the size of a bean slowly flowed down. Chapter 74, Underpants Thief. Piccolo. Old man, stop talking nonsense and leave quickly. Under Lanchi's gaze, the God of Destruction broke out in cold sweat, but he had no choice but to urge Immortal Turtle to hurry up. Yes. Immortal Turtle didn't know why, thinking that the other party was impatient, so he quickly stepped up and walked towards the guest room. After settling in the God of Destruction, Fairy Turtle wiped away cold sweat and left. This year's world's #1 martial arts tournament actually has so many more people participating than in the original book. It seems that my purpose has been achieved at least on this planet. In the guest room, the God of Destruction, sitting cross-legged on the bed, used his divine power to probe the entire planet. But at this time, the God of Destruction saw something more interesting. I saw a deep sea in the Atlantic Ocean, a submarine was diving non-stop. King Pilaf, is the big demon King Piccolo you're looking for really in this place? I think it's a bit gloomy here. Xiao Wu couldn't help swallowing while looking at the dark seabed. Of course, I bought the information from a fisherman not far away for 10 yuan. How could I go wrong? After looking for Pilaf, who had no news for a day, he told his secret in a frenzy. What? King Pilaf, are you kidding us? The information you bought with the fisherman is still 10 yuan. Axiu on the side said angrily to Pilaf. And his tone suddenly made Pilaf feel that his dignity was damaged. Axiu, are you kidding me and looking for a fight? Pilaf waved his fist and was about to hit Axiu. Ashu was so frightened that he ran away with his tail between his tails. The two of you chased me in the submarine, and Xiaowu shook her head helplessly. Even the god of destruction, who was thousands of miles away, lamented that Pilaf was indeed the stupidest villain in Dragon Ball. As it looks, it will take at least a few years for these three to find Vic, which seems to give them a little speed. The god of destruction is looking forward to what the current Piccolo will think when he sees so many strong men on Earth. Xiaowu was bored and looked around to see if there were any wrecks left behind. At this moment, an area with abnormal signal suddenly appeared on the display screen. This is... Looking at the constantly fluctuating signal area above the display, Xiaowu quickly turned on the high-definition display. Then a rice cooker appeared in front of her. What? It's actually a rice cooker. It's a new rice cooker, what a pity. In order to save money for Pilaf, Xiaowu brought a new electric rice cooker from the seat of the cabin. Hey, Lord Pilaf, please stop making trouble. Look at the pot here, look at the new one, I don't know if it can still be used. Xiaowu stopped the two Pilafs who were constantly fighting. Hey, why is there a seal? It can't be stolen goods. Pilaf stretched out his hand suspiciously and touched the rice cooker. Wait, Mr. Pilaf, look, this seal looks a bit like a seal from a movie. There won't be a zombie in it, right? Xiaowu hurriedly stopped and wanted to see what was inside. Pilaf retracted his arm in fright. But after Pilaf stabilized again, he said it suddenly. Oh, you guys are too sensitive. Even if there are really zombies in such a small place, you can't put them down. What are you anxious about? Glancing at the two incompetent subordinates with contempt, Pilaf sighed with emotion that he was surrounded by the wind and suave. King Pilaf, who saw flowers blooming, actually had such two subordinates. Tear. Pilaf carefully tore off the seal on the rice cooker. But after a few seconds, nothing happened. Ha, I'll just say it. Zombies must be deceitful. How could I, King Pilaf, be frightened by such deceitful things? Pilaf, who was relieved, suddenly sighed that his wit was extraordinary. Yes, King Pilaf is the smartest, and we really underestimate you. The two dogs quickly complimented Pilaf. Suddenly, at this moment, a trace of green gas began to diffuse out of the rice cooker. The faces of the two subordinates who saw this scene also turned green. Pippi, King Pilaf. Xiaowu's trembling voice surprised Pilaf. What's the matter? Didn't you say it all? Don't be so surprised, just be calm, it's just such a trivial matter. Pilaf, who was still educating Xiaowu, suddenly felt a figure on the deck shrouding him. The tall figure of the other party made Pilaf swallow his saliva, and then slowly turned his stiff head. What caught my eye was a green figure, and the clothes on the figure reminded Pilaf of an Oriental horror movie. Fuck, oh my god, there are really zombies. Pilaf fell to his knees with a plop, and then a yellow liquid flowed out from under him. Humans are really lowly. Of course, the green figure is Piccolo. He, who has always had strong complaints against humans, looked at the three Pilafs who were shrunk in the corner with disdain. You are the great demon King Piccolo. Suddenly, Pilaf remembered why he was here, and the man in front of him had a magic word embroidered on his clothes. HMPH, the three of you still have some knowledge. It seems that although I, the great demon King Piccolo, have disappeared for hundreds of years, there are still stories passed down. Big Demon King Bic said with a little pride, after all, people remember that they have left a deep impression on mankind. No, I saw your story on a comic strip, and Pilaf hurriedly searched for the comic strip he read from the side. Curious Piccolo looked at the book, The Brave Teaches the Devil, and opened the contents. After seeing that the Piccolo Demon King described in it is actually a perverted demon who likes to steal people's underwear, Piccolo's face completely darkened. Damn, Who wrote this book? I want to destroy his whole family. The angry Piccolo tore up the book at once, and at the same time, the powerful aura that erupted from his body directly caused the entire ocean to vibrate. Sir Big Demon King, calm down, we will be your little brothers in the future, and I hope Lord Big Demon King Piccolo can accept us. Suddenly, Pilaf hurriedly knelt down and begged Piccolo, hoping to join Piccolo's panty-stealing alliance. Humph, since you said so, I will accept you reluctantly. Remember that from today onwards, you are my acceptance. Saying that, Piccolo's neck suddenly thickened, and a huge egg suddenly spewed out of his mouth. Huh, so disgusting. The funny trio almost vomited. Crack, kick. The sound of broken eggshells reached everyone's ears, and a few seconds later, a demon with green wings and a large sausage mouth appeared in front of several people. From today your name will be Dambalin. Chapter 75. Die before you start your career. In a small coastal village, children sweating profusely on a newly built martial arts field or sweating profusely under the leadership of a strong-haired man with thick eyebrows. Youth, let's fight, youth is infinite, only sweat can baptize our youth. The big man was wearing a green one-piece bodysuit, and the enthusiasm made the children work harder. I must become a strong instructor like an instructor, and then grow up and marry Ruhua from the village as a wife. I am the strongest man in this village. I want to defeat Xiaoming and revive my family. I must be the man who wants to become the village chief, and no one can stop me. One by one, the children were roaring, and they kept doing the hard training for them. However, at this moment, the coach's thick eyebrows suddenly wrinkled together. Just as he raised his head, he saw a green-winged man flying down from the sky. Yo, it's actually a fellow man. Brother, where did you buy your green bat suit? I'll go get a set too. The thick-browed man showed his big white teeth to the flying Dambalin. Crap, I met an idiot the first time I made a move. It seems that it's not good to be a teacher. A drop of cold sweat dripped from Dambalin's forehead. Stop talking nonsense, I will ask you, are you a martial artist? Dambalin asked directly. However, just after Dambalin's words were asked, the expression of frog skin on the opposite side suddenly changed suddenly. Martial Taoist. Ha 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 ha, you are asking the right person. Bro, listen carefully, I'm the #1 physique practitioner in this village, the so-called blue beast Matekai. Matt K's proud words made Dambalin break down in a cold sweat again. It seems that I really found a fool, too naive, it seems that I still have to go to the big city to find it. Dambalin didn't even bother to pay attention to the frog skin in front of him, and fluttered his wings to leave. Hey, brother, aren't you looking for a martial artist? Me too, don't go, I really am. It's hard to say in front of people other than the children in the village that he is a martial artist, how could he let him go? HMPH, get away. Dambalin snorted coldly and then flapped his wings, and a gust of wind instantly blew the frog's skin upside down and flew out dozens of meters and fell to the ground. Oh my mother. After some somersaults, Matt K rubbed his head and stood up. Humph, garbage. Dambalin snorted disdainfully and then fluttered his wings to leave. Ha! At this moment, Matt K suddenly roared. The sudden voice startled Dambalin. You kid eating shit, what the hell is it called? Dambalin cursed angrily, and then a gas bomb condensed in his hand that was about to kill Matekai. If you dare to underestimate me, then I will show you the ultimate meaning of taijutsu, the 8 gates of Dunjia. Matke suddenly took a stance, and a low roar came out of his mouth. What the hell? Dambalin was stunned, what's the situation? The 5th gate of the 8 gates Dunjia, the Jingmun is open. A blue arrogance suddenly burst out from Matekai's body. On the opposite side, Dambalin felt that something was wrong, and hurriedly wanted to do something. Suddenly, he felt a flower in front of him, and a blue figure had appeared behind him. Beauty Lotus. What? Matekai's icy figure reached Danbalan's ears, and bandages suddenly wrapped around Danbalan. Immediately after Matekai kicked, the two immediately rose into the sky and came to an altitude of several hundred meters. Look at me, go to hell, witness your youth. Matekai shouted excitedly, carrying Danbalan, and smashed down to the ground like a meteorite. Boom. After an earth-shattering loud noise, the entire village returned to silence. And the great demon King Piccolo, who was on the helicarrier dozens of kilometers away, suddenly changed his face. Danbalan, he's actually dead. The cup in his hand shattered instantly. He couldn't believe that his first child died so quickly. It stands to reason that no matter how bad he was, Danbalan's fighting power of more than 100 would not die so quickly. HMPH, you guys, do you know which direction Danbalan is heading? Big Devil Piccolo said coldly to the trembling Pilavs below. I know, we'll rush over immediately. Pilav's eyesight was very strong, and he hurriedly operated the helicarrier to fly in the direction of Danbalan's death. A few minutes later, the helicarrier came to a stop above a large crater. Looking at the big pit below several hundred meters in diameter, Pilav swallowed. I feel the breath of Danbalan, and I am here. Big Demon King Bick stood up with a gloomy expression, and then flew towards the ground. The Pilav trio breathed a sigh of relief after seeing Piccolo leave. Your Majesty Pilav, do you really say that we have a future with the great demon Lord Piccolo? Xiaowu wiped her cold sweat and said to Pilaf uncertainly. So what if there is a future? What can we do? It's not the only way. Pilaf gave Xiaowu an angry look. At this time they had no way to go back. However, King Pilaf, why don't we run away? Go back and be your king safely. Isn't it good for us to be your son-in-law? Pilaf was taken aback by the words of the big yellow dog Axiu. His heart was a little shaken, but when he thought of the horror of the great demon King Piccolo, he didn't dare to gamble. It would be hard if he was caught and died. Well, let's see first, if only someone could kill him. Pilaf said helplessly. But as soon as these words came out, the three of them suddenly froze. Immediately, a purple figure appeared in their minds. Immediately, the three looked at each other with sinister smiles on their faces. On the other side, the great demon King Piccolo also came to the ground. In the pit, a man in frog skin was poking at the unrecognizable Danbalan at the bottom of the pit with a stick. A group of children were still chattering by the side. Mr. Kai, aren't you going too far? Aren't they just making you angry? Look at how you fell them to death. That's right, Mr. Kai is too cruel. The complaints of the children made Kai want to cry without tears. How did he know that this person was so unbeaten? At this time, the great demon King Piccolo in the sky did not know that his child was killed by Kai in front of him. It was you who killed my child. An icy voice came out of the mouth of the great demon King Piccolo, causing the air to condense a little. The furious Piccolo didn't rush to take action because he didn't know the opponent's strength. Ah, it's not good, the parents have come to the door. Mr. Kai, take care, let's go first. Yes, we are young and don't know anything. The surrounding children all scurried away, leaving a stunned Matekai looking at the angry big demon King Piccolo. Chapter 76. 8 Gates of Dunjia. Dead door. Open. This brother, I accidentally killed Ling Lang. You can kill me and give my life to it. This is the case, okay. Matekai's determined look made Piccolo's eyes narrow. Life for life. Ha 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 ha, laughing to death, is your low life as good as my child's life? HMPH, I want you and your entire village to pay for my child's life. Big Demon King Piccolo didn't shy away from making the face of Matekai on the opposite side change. Can't we negotiate? Kai wanted to say it again. HMPH, stop talking nonsense, let's do it. Big Devil Piccolo sneered and put his cloak on the ground, and his whole body suddenly turned into a green light and rushed towards Matt Kai. If you can't agree, you'll be offended. Matt K instantly burst into the 7th gate of the 8th dungeons. The dark blue light shot straight into the sky. The great demon King Bick smiled disdainfully. Crack. After a bone crack, Kai's arm twisted instantly. Fortunately, Kai's fighting experience was strong, and his body was slightly staggered, avoiding the fist that was hitting his chest. Not only that, Kai's backhand punch hit the back of the great demon King Piccolo. Boom. After a violent roar, the old body of the great demon King Bick flew backwards in front of him. Stab. A trace hundreds of meters long was formed on the ground under the drag of the great demon King Piccolo. Cough cough. A sound of coughing came from his mouth, and at the same time there was a trace of horror in his eyes. Why is there such a powerful person on Earth? The great demon King Piccolo couldn't believe it, knowing that before he was sealed, when he was fighting with the strongest Wutato in the world, he crushed the opponent. It's just that after the other party escaped from death, he didn't know where to get a magic seal wave, and directly sealed himself in the rice cooker. I agree with you based on this anger. No one who has played against me in 100 years can be yours. I, Piccolo, would like to call you the strongest. Standing up tremblingly, Piccolo said solemnly to Kai in front of him. If that's the case, don't blame my men for being ruthless. His cold words made Kai frown slightly. Devil's secret skills, demonization. Immediately, Piccolo stomped under his feet, and a black-purple arrogance suddenly slowly emerged from his body. When the magic energy on Piccolo just came out, a purple figure suddenly appeared in the sky above them. Demon Chi. No wonder the Demon King God didn't bring the demon race to this planet. It turned out to be an arrangement. The god of destruction looked indifferently at Piccolo, who had been transformed by the demonic energy below. He knew that Kai, who had opened 7 doors this time, was about to kneel. After all, Kai's original strength was only more than 20 combat power. He opened 7 doors and reached about 300 in front of him. But it looks like you have broken through 8 doors in 1 year. Looking at the infinite power hidden in Kai's body, the god of destruction smiled slightly. In order to try the Bamandungia developed by myself in this world, I went back to a year ago directly with God of Destruction, and found a big man who yearned for martial arts, but because his qualifications were so poor, the big man was always ordinary. People. The God of Destruction directly burned the 8 gates Dungia into his soul, allowing him to use it directly, and then return to the original time, which is now. HMPH, it seems that person didn't lie to me, he is really amazing after being completely enchanted. Ha 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 ha. Vike smiled and couldn't help laughing as he watched his rapidly recovering body. Not only did his body begin to recover towards its heyday, but even the wrinkles on his body were rapidly fading away. All of a sudden, the strength has tripled. It seems that Kai can't do it anymore. Let's do it, Kai, and let me see if Bamandungia can really exist in this world. The god of destruction stared at the battle on the ground expectantly. Boy, I recognize your strength, but now you only have one choice and that is death. Under the erosion of demonic energy, Piccolo's eyes have become extremely dark. Stop talking nonsense, come on. Kai roared and charged towards Piccolo. Piccolo also stomped abruptly, and his whole body turned into a black light and rushed towards Kai. Kai, who had broken his right hand, couldn't directly fight against Piccolo. He jumped up suddenly, and a big whirlwind kicked toward Piccolo. The force is more than twice as strong as before. However, Piccolo sneered at the corner of his mouth, and his right hand grabbed towards Kai's foot without hesitation. At the same time, he held a ball of light in his left hand. Piccolo, whose strength has soared, knows that if he hits with this set of attacks, Kai will definitely die. Suddenly Kai, who was flying in the air at this moment, suddenly sneered. The 8th gate of the 8 gates of Dungia. The gate of death. Open. This roar spread all over the planet, and then a huge roar echoed in a radius of hundreds of kilometers. A huge mushroom cloud floats in the air. The powerhouses in the whole world looked solemnly in this direction. People with 2,000 fighting strength. I never thought that such a character would appear on the earth, it's a pity. Florence, who was preparing for the world's #1 martial arts conference thousands of miles away, glanced in that direction with emotion, but did not go to check. Successful, and sure enough, the laws of each world are still the same. Looking at Kai, who was slowly falling on the ground, with a smile in the mushroom cloud, the god of destruction nodded in satisfaction. Immediately, the god of destruction teleported to the fallen Kai, and saw a green light shot out. After the light enveloped Kai, his half-burned body slowly returned to normal. However, the god of destruction immediately grabbed Kai's head with his hand, and grabbed all the memories and cultivation experience of the 8 gates of Dunjia formation in his mind. If you're not willing to be ordinary, just work hard. Now your talent is many times higher than before. Buggy technique like Bam and Dunjia in the mind of such a rookie. But in return, the god of destruction gave him the conditions to become a strong man. After doing all this, the god of destruction disappeared again in the ruins with a teleport. After a few minutes, Kai slowly opened his eyes. Having forgotten what he had just done, he looked around in confusion, and finally returned to the village quickly, but all the villagers in the village who had been watching the whole process actually forgot what just happened. But this is just an episode. The village once again returned to its former calm. And in the deep pit on the other side, a mass of flesh like a heart was squirming rapidly, and every time he squirmed, his volume became much larger. However, as the black air above him continued to erode, his squirming speed became faster and faster, and in just 2 hours he became the size of a normal person. After another change, the young Piccolo Demon King was covered in mucus and got up from the ground panting. Damn, such a powerful person. Why does the earth have such a powerful person? Piccolo roared unwillingly, but he didn't dare to trouble Kai again. This time it was luck, the next time he might be dead. HMPH, it seems that we must first take a good look at the strength of the people in this world. Chapter 77. A different world's #1 fighting tournament. By the way, it seems that I heard from Pilaf and a few people that the world's first martial arts conference will be held tomorrow. It seems that to understand the combat effectiveness of this era, we still have to go to this kind of occasion. The King Piccolo, who had escaped from death, thought of this and flew into the sky. However, after he looked around, he found that the helicarrier had long since disappeared. The 3 Pilafs ran away after being abused by the great demon King Piccolo. HMPH, I originally wanted to save your life for the sake of you letting me go. It seems that it is unnecessary. The next time I see you will be your death. After Piccolo snorted coldly, black energy erupted from his body, and he shot towards the distance. Along the way, he asked a lot of people, and finally came to Exedu before the registration deadline the next day. Along the way, he felt that the strength of the people of this era has reached the combat effectiveness of 7 or 8 points. Some even reached 20 or 30 points of combat effectiveness. I can't believe that the Earth has developed so fast in just a few hundred years. It seems that this Valkyrie really has some means. The great demon King Pic, who was wrapped in white cloth, was walking on the street and was slightly shocked when he looked at the powerful civilians around him. Hey, Grandpa Turtle Immortal, look at this man so strange. He actually wraps himself so tightly, isn't he hot? Just when Piccolo came to the registration place for the competition, a young voice reached the ears of Piccolo. His voice made Piccolo frown. You boy, can't you just say a few words less? What if you get angry and get beaten up? Wukong's words made the immortal turtle blow his beard and stare. Keelan just offended others and now his balls are useless. If Wukong offends another one, he won't have any disciples to show off. Sir, my apprentice has no ill intentions, please forgive me. The turtle immortal smiled and apologized to the great demon King Piccolo under the white cloth. And Piccolo turned his head and glanced at it lightly, his pupils shrank slightly. It's actually the disciple of that old boy Wutato. Piccolo was suddenly a little vigilant in his heart. After becoming a disciple of Wutato, there is a very high probability that he will be able to seal the waves. Although his strength has become so much stronger, the imposing manner of the ricketed old man in front of him is not lower than his own. HMPH, be more careful next time. Piccolo didn't say much, and turned back to his body with a cold snort. However, a mortal turtle scratched his bald head in confusion. How could this voice sound familiar? But after registering, Wu Tian took Wukong to the candidate room. When the staff around saw him, they respectfully called the chief instructor. At the same time, he was also convinced by the style of turtle immortal who did not go through the back door when signing up. Good morning to all the audience and friends, do you still remember me? I am your most beloved host, and this time the host is still up to me. Eyes with sunglasses, hair neatly combed back, the host came to the ring very coquettishly. This year's world's #1 martial arts tournament, the arena is much bigger than before. People appear to be very small on it, and those with poor strength will be exhausted and out of breath when they walk to the center of the ring. Okay, this time our world's first martial arts conference can be said to be the biggest event in history. This time the number of contestants has reached more than 100 times that of the previous one. As soon as the host's words came out, the tens of thousands of viewers standing below all boiled. That's right, the total number of participants this time is 12,354, so in order to save everyone's time, we will take out the boxing tester made by our Valkyrie, and select the top 100 among the more than 10,000 contestants. Name. Following the host's words, the tall instruments were slowly placed on the ring by the crane. Roughly counting, I found that there are exactly 100. Well, now we have our players on the field. After the host shouted excitedly, dozens of doors in the rest hall behind the ring opened. Densely crowded people came out from inside, making the surrounding audience see extra excitement. Then one by one, under the host's order, they began to find the dynamometer to test. Big Devil Piccolo glanced at the dynamometer in front of him with disdain. Just this kind of garbage, I can blow it up with one punch. It seems that the IQ of the Valkyrie is nothing more than that. In his sneer, he used 1/10 of his strength to punch out. Boom. DDDD. Power, 13,000 kilograms. As soon as the power of 13 tons came out, the tester in front of him was stunned. It's not broken. Piccolo narrowed his eyes slightly, this thing was harder than he thought. Do you still need to continue? The tester seemed to see that Piccolo was not using his full strength, so he asked again. One more time. Piccolo doesn't believe in evil, so he still can't break something made by a Valkyrie, so he still wants to defeat the opponent. Immediately, Piccolo directly used all his strength, and the whole person jumped up suddenly with a roundabout kick. Hit the bullseye. Boom. An even louder sound made the surrounding players look in this direction in horror. DDDD. Power, 130,000 kilograms. The sound of this prompt sound instantly made everyone around them change their faces. The power alone is so great. If you add combat skills or something, this power will not directly break the sky. But Piccolo was not happy at all. HMPH. The Valkyrie really lives up to her reputation. After a cold snort, Piccolo walked back to the lounge. Wow, this guy is amazing. In the original book, Xiao Wukong, who was accompanied by Krillin, is now only alone, and when Xiao Wukong was emotional, a white-haired old man walked behind Xiao Wukong with his hands behind his back. Who is this person? Why does it feel so familiar, and his tone of voice? While he was thinking, Xiao Wukong had already completed the test, and his score was 33,000 kilograms. This kind of strength erupted from his young body, which directly surprised everyone. The combat power of this power has reached 330 points. It can be said that he is the most powerful existence among the aborigines of the earth except the turtle fairy. However, it is still more than a little worse than the 800 combat power of demonized Piccolo. Next, Jackie Chan. Following the tester's shout, the turtle fairy after makeup also walked in front of the tester. Drink. Boom. A loud bang made everyone look sideways again. DDDD. Power. 110,000 kilograms. Jackie Chan frowned and walked off the stage, ignoring the terrified players around him. After this initial selection, there were only a few hundred contestants left. These 100 people can be said to represent the highest strength of the earth, and each of them has a combat power of more than 50 points. In the original work, it is a much stronger existence than the little Wukong who just appeared. The most powerful among them is the eight-handed fist Chaba King, whose strength reaches over 200 terrifying. This time, the 21st World's #1 Martial Arts Conference has finally officially kicked off. Chapter 78. Demon Sealing Wave. The 21st World's #1 Martial Arts Conference represents the first change after the Earth was born. After the Valkyrie revived the Earth's chi and announced a more advanced cultivation method, the combat power of all human beings soared. Of course, except for the savage, stinking barbarians who were originally the powerhouses of the Earth, everyone else has followed the evolutionary team and became stronger. Rounds and rounds of fierce battles left the venue full of pits, but every time a match ended, a ray of light would be cast in the sky of the venue, restoring the entire venue to its original appearance. In the end, the top 8 finalists of the game were decided. These 8 people are Jackie Chan, Goku, Piccolo, Chaba King of 8 Hands Boxing, the Wood of the Sky Cross Fist. There is Kirin, who claims to be a dragon, a werewolf who transforms into a normal person on a full moon night, and a young wrestler who is a world champion. The 8 men ended up making the final round. In the first game, Piccolo faced off against Nemu. Although Nemu struggled to support him, he was knocked unconscious under Piccolo's overwhelming strength. Because of the rules, Piccolo didn't kill the opponent. Of course, Bic, who only punched 3 times the whole way, did not reveal his strength. And in the second game is Wukong vs. Jackie Chan. This arrangement is that Jackie Chan himself is stunned, but in order to know Piccolo's identity as soon as possible, Jackie Chan didn't say anything. This battle was inextricably fought under the deliberate release of the water by the Turtle Fairy. In the end, the Turtle Immortal who played too much was almost trampled to death by Goku, who was transformed by seeing the full moon. But in the end, he still destroyed the moon and sent Xiao Wukong out of the ring to achieve the final victory. The third game is King Chaba vs. the Dragon Qilang. Although Qilang's sticky saliva is troublesome, but under King Chaba's powerful 8-handed punch, Qilang withdrew from the arena with scars all over his body. And the fourth time was very embarrassing. The werewolf became a normal human because of seeing the full moon. After being beaten by the wrestler, he was carried off the ring with a blue nose and a swollen face. The wrestler's exaggerated laugh with his explosive head also made the God of Destruction, sitting in the VIP seat, sweat a lot. Why does this guy appear now? But also, this guy is at his peak now. It seems that this time the game is interesting. The wrestler's victory also brought the game to the next stage. The top 4 compete for the final first place, and the first game is the battle between Bic and Jackie Chan. It is undeniable that Piccolo's strength is not as strong as Turtle Immortal at this time, but he has a bug skill, that is, demonization. After the first demonization, Piccolo's strength soared twice, and because it was the first demonization, this strength became Piccolo's own strength, and it did not disappear when the demonization ended. Correspondingly, the second demonization did not increase the strength so much. However, the strength of the great demon King Piccolo reached 1,000 points. After a desperate fight, Jackie Chan was gradually defeated, and Piccolo's identity was also exposed. This is actually the underpants thief Piccolo recorded in the classics. I don't know if my underwear has been stolen. That's right, fortunately I haven't washed my underwear these 2 days. Another person said happily. No, why do I smell a strange smell? Dare I ask how long Shangtai hasn't washed his underwear? The speaker frowned. A few days. Not long. Just 2 days. I just dug it out of the closet 2 days ago. Another stopped scratching his head. Then why is Shangtai's body odor so strong? The more he heard, the more he felt that something was wrong, he asked suspiciously. Probably because I've changed this one several times. Aren't your panties dirty and put them aside to dry, and then turn them out in a few days? This man looked at others as if he had discovered a new continent. The air suddenly became quiet. Of course, it was also at this time that the battle in the sky also entered a white-hot stage. The aftermath of countless battles also hit the ground like raindrops from the sky. However, under the defense of the energy protective cover, all disappeared into the protective cover. Boom! After an earth-shattering roar, Jackie Chan was bombarded to the ground by a qigong from Piccolo. A deep pit suddenly formed. Not only that, the great demon King Piccolo kept smashing gas bullets towards the ground like raindrops into the pit in the air. Boom boom boom. The countless roars made all the audience's hearts twitch. This pervert is too shameless, even such an old man is not spared. That's right, Mr. Jackie Chan is a very virtuous old man, how can this man be like this? Of course, these denunciations are nothing but farts for Bic. Woohoo! Piccolo sneered breathlessly in the air, so that if he didn't die, he also felt that Jackie Chan was dead. However, when the smoke cleared, Jackie Chan was not seen in the pit, which made Piccolo frown. Are you looking for me? Just then Jackie Chan's voice appeared behind Piccolo. Piccolo, who had just felt bad, suddenly felt a sharp pain in his back. Immediately, Piccolo hit the ground like a missile. Then, Jackie Chan, covered in blood, slowly fell to the ground. I've been ready for this moment since Shaolun told me that there are demons infested on other planets. I thought it would be useless, but it seems that I can only take action. Jackie Chan sighed, then glanced at Xiao Wukong, who was leaning on the window looking at him. Goku, the future of the Earth is up to you. Jackie Chan took off his hair cap and immediately took out an all-purpose capsule from his arms. Hey, Jackie Chan looks so much like Grandpa Turtle Immortal. Little Goku muttered to himself suspiciously. It turns out that Mr. Jackie Chan is Mr. Wu Tian, and you are Mr. Wu Tian's apprentice. No wonder. King Chaba on the side can see at a glance that Wu Tian's purpose is to set an example and goal for Xiao Wukong, but the current situation has exceeded Wu Tian's prediction. In the eyes of everyone's doubts, Wu Tian threw the universal capsule to the ground. Bang! After the smoke dissipated, a rice cooker appeared in front of everyone. Rice cooker. Isn't our Jackie Chan supposed to be Mr. Wu Tian who is hungry now? He actually took out a rice cooker. The host's doubtful words made Wu Tian speechless for a while, and the sad atmosphere he had created was turned into a joke by this dog. Forget it, you're going to die, so what are you doing? After laughing at himself, Wu Tian took a special pose. Boom! Piccolo suddenly rose into the sky from the ground. He was covered in black mist and looked at Wu Tian on the ground with an angry expression. But when he saw the electric rice cooker in front of Wu Tian, his expression suddenly changed. No, run away. Under the sudden change of mind, Piccolo seemed to be slipping away, but unfortunately, a voice that he would never forget came from afar. Magic Sealing Wave. Chapter 79, King Chaba is dead. A dazzling light and Piccolo's shrill screams declared the defeat of Piccolo. After the turtle immortal finished using the magic seal wave, he smiled faintly at the little Wukong who was in a daze in the lounge. Plop! After the sound of falling to the ground, Immortal Turtle fell straight to the ground. Everyone in the audience watching this scene was silent, and some martial arts masters were even more sad because they were more or less taught by teacher Wu Tian. And he is also one of the few people who know the true face of the great demon King Piccolo. Is this the spirit of martial arts that turtle immortals have always implemented? The god of destruction, who had been bored in the VIP room, also frowned slightly at this time. The spirit of martial arts in this world happened to be what he lacked now. After all, he was not a pure martial artist, but a noble race of gods by birth. It's really admirable to be able to use his own life as a teaching material in order to teach Wukong. God of Destruction has never admired many people here, one is pork ribs rice and the other is turtle immortal. And the little Wukong below seemed to finally know what happened, and hurriedly ran towards the corpse of the turtle fairy. The staff also began to clean up the arena, but the rice cooker that sealed the great demon King Piccolo remained silent. Click. At this moment, the door of the God of Destruction's room opened, and Abu and the others walked in. I've seen the God of Destruction, but I don't know if the God of Destruction can get used to it. Florence's outfit of a strong woman makes God of Destruction powerless to complain. Stop talking nonsense, tell me, what's the matter with me? Florence has a lot of opinions on herself. If she comes, she definitely has something to ask herself. Sure enough, the purpose of Florence and the others this time is to make the God of Destruction resurrect the turtle immortal. In this case, there is no need to use Dragon Balls. Hee, do you think I'm a free labor force? No, you can't avoid using Dragon Ball. By the way, Shaolun, I told you, you'd better not interfere more in the direction of the world. Although the God of Destruction wants the world to develop, Florence is a little too far from the right path. The words of the God of Destruction made Abu several angry, but because they didn't say a word, they left the place angrily. At this moment, the rice cooker above the ring suddenly vibrated wildly. Anyone who knows it will see that the magic seal that seals Piccolo does not have a seal rune. After a huge roar, a green figure rose into the sky. Ha ha ha, even a dead old man wants to seal me, the great demon King Piccolo, without looking at how much he weighs. Piccolo's wild laughter made everyone's legs tremble a little. Bick, your break is crazy, King Chaba, will come to meet you. King Chaba above the lounge snorted coldly, jumped up and rushed towards the sky. Damn Piccolo, take the life of Grandpa Turtle Immortal. At this moment, an orange-red figure rose into the sky, and in an instant, it crossed the side of King Chaba and charged towards Piccolo. Be careful, son Wukong. King Chaba hurriedly shouted at Wukong, but unfortunately, Wukong, who was overwhelmed by hatred, ignored King Chaba's reminder and rushed straight into the sky. Of course, Wukong's power at this time rushed up and only sent ahead in the end. Under Piccolo's overwhelming fighting power, Goku was instantly smashed into the ground. Go to hell. Piccolo attacked Wukong with a Qigong. Seeing that Wukong was about to die, King Chaba rushed to the top of Wukong and blocked the Qigong with his body. Boom. After an earth-shattering loud noise, the arena of the venue turned to ashes. Everyone thought that King Chaba and the two were dead. What the hell is going on? Is it true that the great demon King Piccolo slaughtered the contestants so recklessly? Yeah, what about the Valkyrie? Why don't you come out and stop it? A voice filled with righteous indignation made the crowd under the ring excited. Just when the scene couldn't be controlled, a voice that seemed to come from 9 days away reached everyone's ears. Vic, enough is enough. In the sky, a graceful and peerless figure slowly fell down. The beautiful face of the visitor and the figure of the devil made everyone swallow their saliva. You are the Valkyrie. Piccolo felt the terrifying aura pressing down in the sky, and drops of cold sweat slowly flowed down his forehead. The organizer doesn't kill the players, or you'll be dead long ago, but it's just 3 things. The Valkyrie's words made Piccolo heave a sigh of relief. HMPH, the feng shui turns around, and then I say goodbye. Piccolo knew that Florence meant that if he shot again, he would be dead, so Piccolo jumped into the sky and flew into the distance after a cold sweat. Alas, let him run away. Be content, if the organizer kills the players at will, who would dare to participate? Yes, there are no absolutes in the world. If it really goes on like this, the world's #1 martial arts tournament will be lonely. While everyone was talking, the smoke on the ground slowly dissipated. I saw King Chaba laying in the deep pit and losing his life, while his body was firmly protecting the little Wukong below. Looking at King Chaba who guarded him with his life, Xiao Wukong stared blankly at the dead King Chaba. A glittering teardrop streamed down from the corner of his eye. Damn Piccolo, I must kill you. For the first time, the seeds of hatred were planted in Wukong's heart. Alas! It's such a shame that our King Chaba player sacrificed his life to save others. But our game still has to go on. Because of Piccolo's abstention and the death of Mr. Chaba, the final 4 finalists are only Mr. Satan. As the host had just finished speaking, everyone's eyes shifted to Satan, who was shivering and hiding in a corner. And Satan, who heard the host's voice, jumped up quickly. Pretend to be indifferent. And his light-hearted appearance made some people who didn't know why couldn't help but admire Satan's fearlessness in the face of danger. It is worthy of being the last candidate for the championship. It really is the dragon and the phoenix among the people. That's right, when you see the great demon King Piccolo wreaking havoc, only Mr. Satan was there and the ninja didn't do anything. He must be out of consideration for the dignity of the conference. Mr. Satan really is the perfect candidate for the championship. The sound of admiration made Satan sweat uncontrollably from his forehead. Cha, I remember that I didn't invite the Navy this time. Why do you come to clean me up? However, how could Satan let go of the benefits? After a quick statement condemning Piccolo, Satan's popularity reached its peak. In the end, the 21st World's #1 martial arts conference ended with Satan's victory as the result. Chapter 80, The Neural Tree. The end of the world's #1 martial arts conference is not the end but represents the beginning of Wukong's journey. The god of destruction, who saw the pain in the ass, returned directly to the god of destruction realm. After all, Goku and the others are growing rapidly, and he can't stand still like the god of destruction. But at this moment, the god of destruction felt a strange message from the universe. In the northwestern part of the universe, there is actually a life planet whose life force is rapidly fading away. This message was inconspicuous after countless strange messages, but the god of destruction had already monitored such messages. Is it that thing? So when the universe just fed back this message, the god of destruction disappeared on the earth in a teleportation. A few months later in the northwestern part of the universe, a huge dragon rose into the sky in a certain sky of the earth, and several people who died under Piccolo's attack a few minutes later were resurrected one after another. On the other hand, Xiao Wukong came to Kalanta in advance under the suggestion of a mortal turtle, and boarded the heavenly realm to start his long practice under the hands of the gods. On the other hand, Piccolo looked for the entrance to the demon realm in the original book, and pulled out the demon sealing sword stuck at the door. His actions directly caused all the big demons inside to call Piccolo the Demon Lord. However, the demons in this small space were left over from when the demons invaded the earth a long time ago. After lurking for 3 years, Big's strength reached 5,000 points, and this time his comeback made Florence look ugly. Because the god of destruction had warned him last time that she was absolutely not allowed to interfere in the direction of the world. And her inaction was scary in Big's eyes, and his actions became even more frantic. He directly attacked the king's mansion and took the king's position. On the planet, ellipsis 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 ellipsis. The god of destruction just appeared, and what caught the eye was a huge tree. It was unreasonable to have a tree larger than his size growing on a planet much larger than the Earth. Sure enough, it's a neural tree, but it doesn't seem to be of any use to me. The god of destruction touched his chin and said regretfully. This nerve tree is an important magic weapon for early strength improvement in Dragon Ball novels, but for a situation where god of destruction is a big boss, the nerve tree is simply a chicken rib among the tasteless. But here, the god of destruction stretched out his right hand and snapped his fingers. Brush. As soon as the god of destruction snapped his fingers, Whis suddenly appeared in front of the god of destruction. Ah, Lord God of Destruction, what are you doing with me? Whis looked at the god of destruction sleepily. Didn't you say that you have a big event when you come back? The big thing you said is sleeping. God of destruction stared at Wes 40. Oh, god of destruction is really true. Don't you know that sleeping is the biggest thing for girls, and no one likes it if you don't sleep? When Whis heard the god of destruction, he put on a preaching expression to the god of destruction, which was a big reason. Yes, yes, yes to you. I didn't tell you about these things, do you know what this thing is about? The god of destruction didn't want to argue with Weiss at all, and directly stated his purpose. Well. Weiss was stunned for a moment, then turned around and looked at the endless huge tree in front of him. Nerve tree. Isn't this thing in the core world? How did it escape? Weiss asked suspiciously. In the core world. Tell me about the origin of this thing. The god of destruction stepped forward and touched the nerve tree that had grown to the end. No problem. Weiss smiled slightly, and then talked about the neural tree. The nerve tree and the core tree of the core world were born together. The nerve tree is an existence that provides energy for the core people. Every newly born world king will be rewarded with a fruit of the nerve tree. Of course, it is not the current one. A kind of defective product. Quote. As an angel born with the universe, Weiss knows everything in the universe, but it depends on whether he wants to say it or not. The god of destruction in the original book is actually not very high in the eyes of Weiss. After all, he has sent away countless gods of destruction. In his eyes, the god of destruction may really be like a little cat that has always been domesticated. However, the god of destruction at this time was very important to Weiss. First, the god of destruction actually surpassed himself. The second is his father's reminder. That is to say, this neural tree must be planted on the core star before the fruit of the neural tree will grow. God of destruction touched his chin. It's not necessarily. It's okay to plant him in the realm of the king of the gods or the realm of destruction. As long as there are sufficient resources, he can grow suitable fruits. Weiss shook his head and explained. By the way, you said that ordinary kings will get a part of the fruit, but what about the gods? How much will the gods get? Jia Wangshan, they don't have one, because their godheads are already close to stable, and they don't need a nerve tree to stabilize their godheads, but one will grow on this nerve tree every countless years. The golden nerve tree fruit. This nerve tree fruit will be distributed to the best realm kings in the realm king class, so that they can break away from the shackles of realm kings and reach the level of realm king gods. It is limited, and only after the perfection of the divine personality can it have an infinite lifespan. Quote. Speaking of which, Kiyohime is much better than god of destruction as that Kiyohime has an infinite lifespan, but god of destruction will only have an infinite lifespan during his tenure as god of destruction. Turned into fly ash. Oh, there is such a saying. The god of destruction's eyes were slightly solemn. In this case, this nerve tree really has huge potential. It's not a problem here, Lord God of Destruction, shall we send him back to the core world? Weiss suggested that the god of destruction directly shook his head. He was not a philanthropist. How could such a good thing be exchanged? Even if it was to be returned, a large amount of benefits had to be tapped out of the core human world. Just when the god of destruction was about to take away the tree, the silhouettes of several spaceships suddenly flashed across the sky. The god of destruction raised his head and looked into the spaceship. Hey, there is someone who looks so similar to Goku, who is it? It can't be Bardock's illegitimate child. There was never a good face for Bodokwies, who had a bad track record. Dels, this guy is here at this time. Looking at Dels, who is a few years older than Goku in the round spaceship, the god of destruction frowned slightly. If Dels came at this time, he wouldn't be as strong in the original work. At this moment, however, the huge neural tree began to make a clattering sound. At the same time, a fruit fell from the crown of the tree. The fruit that has just fallen to the ground melts into the ground. At the same time, from that area, green grasses began to grow from the original withered land. A bay of spring water began to slowly flow out of the earth. No wonder, it seems that I didn't catch up with the good time. Sure enough, while the god of destruction was speaking, the nerve tree had begun to wither rapidly. A large section of the tree branches began to wither and fall down rapidly. After hitting the ground, like the fruit of the nerve tree, it slowly merged into the earth, and finally turned into nutrients for the planet. Just when the fruit was about to fall out, the Daos who fled here also came to the side of the big tree. Looking at the fallen fruits, Darlays, who was standing at the end, frowned. then slowly flew under the tree and caught one. Several other people didn't say anything. It seems that it is a big plan to let Dals try the poison. Dals, the weakest inside, had no room to speak, and could only eat this fruit in the eyes of everyone's expectations. Boom! As soon as he ate the nerve tree fruit, Darles felt that his chi had skyrocketed several times in an instant. The original strength of about 1,000 suddenly soared to 7,000 or 8,000, and he suddenly reached the level of this group of lower grades whose strength is generally 1 or 2,000. The soldier's face changed dramatically with fright. At the same time, several people hurriedly grabbed the fallen nerve tree fruit.